You got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. We have a special one today. We're going to cut right to it. Very special guest in the house, poker legend, Mike the Mouth Matusow. Welcome,
What's up, buddy?
sir.
How you doing? Thanks
Good
for
to have
having me
you.
on, man.
Man, I got to tell you, 22 years ago, when was 2003? Yeah, we'll call it 21 years ago.
22, yeah.
21 years ago, watching you on the World Series of Poker, playing a bunch of games I didn't know the rules to. If you would have told me that fast forward, I was going to be in a room shooting the shit, kicking the can down memory lane, and trying to campaign to get you in the Hall of Fame, I would have called you a liar.
Yeah.
But hey, here we are. Look at us.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I love it.
Who would have thought? So the main reason not the main reason, I mean, this is long overdue in my opinion anyway, but what got you out of the house and got you here is you recently did a documentary that just launched on Amazon. Is it just called Matusow?
Matusow.
Matusow.
I get it right.
That's right.
Is that actually how you pronounce your last name?
Correct.
Wow.
I bet so many people I say more people would say Matusow than Matusow, right?
They do.
Get
I
it
mean,
wrong.
Phil's been my best friend in poker for 20-something years, and he still calls me Matusow.
Right.
So,
I think the entire poker world calls you Matusow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you're getting that one back, man.
yeah, I mean,
We're getting it out there, though.
You know,
Matusow.
you say it is what it is, but you know, it's good.
So tell us, or like walk us through what was the impetus behind developing this documentary? What did you hope to accomplish? How long did it take?
Okay, so I was approached. I was actually, let's fast forward, go backwards to 2013. I was approached about doing a movie about my life with the Batman guy, the guy who does all the Batman shows.
Okay.
And it was going to happen. It was kind of greenlit. It was in Variety magazine and everything. And then they had a 6 month hold. They had to set it back. And then I had my injury.
Okay.
And so after my injury, you know, things I kind of fell out of the poker world because things were really, really bad after my injury, my recuperation, things that nobody in the poker world really knew about. And so that kind of went up by the wayside. And then my friend, well, he's my friend now, but this guy, Frank Cirillo, approached me about doing a documentary about it. And we kind of talked about it. And we decided to do it, right? And the main reason why I wanted to do it is because people in the poker world, they think Mike can't play poker anymore, or Mike sucks, or whatever, which can't be any farther from the truth. I mean, if you ask me, I think I'm a better poker player today than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And I've done pretty well the last 7 years. And so being able to do well without the public's acknowledgement, it really kind of bothered me a lot about people saying, oh, I can't play poker no more. And people didn't understand why I get to I've been 13 final tables since 2018, and I haven't won any of them. And I don't know. I mean, you know as well as I do that I don't give a fuck if you're the best poker player in the world. I mean, Daniel didn't win a tournament since 2012 until this last year.
Yeah.
And he's won 3 tournaments this year.
Yeah.
Right?
And you had a big summer, if I recall. You got heads up in, was the 10K 08?
It was the stud 8, 2,500 or 1,500.
1,500. Yeah.
Stud 8.
And I think you made 2 or 3 final tables that summer, if I remember correctly.
And I really, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was, and my documentary shows a lot of what I deal with my mental, because of all the medications that I have to take. And so I have to always prepare myself mentally. And some days you have bad med days. And if you have a bad med day, it'll affect you. And one mistake at a final table, and that's the difference between you winning and losing. And when I got head up, I had to make a decision because of all the medications that I'm on for my pain med. Like I'm off my pain meds now, which I got off on May 3rd was the last pain med I took of 2024.
That's great.
And it took me 10 weeks to get off of it. I decided in February of this year that because of my pain meds and the fact that I had to counter my pain meds by taking Adderall, that it cost me a bracelet in that 1,500, because when we were going to three-handed play, I had to make a decision. Should I take another half of Adderall? Am I okay? Well, I want to be focused, but I don't want to be, not too, you know what I'm saying? And I made a mistake, and I took an extra, because most of the time if I take a little bit of extra, I'll get better focus. But there's always that 20% of the time, if I take the extra, I'll get a little bit manic. And unfortunately, head up, I got a little manic, and when I felt the manic coming on, I leaned to the side of caution, which in stud 8, you can lean a little bit to the side of caution, where like in no limit holdem, I mean, you could also lean a little bit to the side of caution, but then you'll get run over, right?
Yeah.
And I end up folding half of a like 6 million chip pot for like one big bet for like 500K. And as it turns out, I would have got half. And that ends up costing me the tournament. And so when that happened, like I spent the whole year of between 2023 and the 2024 World Series, like, what am I going to do this year to make sure that I don't need meds to basically.
So you played this entire summer med free?
I played most of it med free.
Yeah. How was that experience?
The first 2 weeks, I felt like I was struggling to focus. So I got back on the Adderall after the first 2 weeks, but it's very, very low dose. And I played well. I've never, but there's again a caveat to the but, and I'm willing, I have no problem saying it, is because I didn't have the pain med in my system, right? So I took like a little bit, but that little bit was really, really strong because you don't have the pain meds that were causing me to be a little bit sluggish.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden I found myself getting really like angry and upset every time I lost a pot. And so you can't be, positivity breeds positivity, negativity breeds negativity. If your medication is making you feel angry and negative, people were like saying, Mike, why are you so negative? Mike, why are you so negative? I knew why I was so negative, but I didn't know how to get out of it. So I ended up having my worst World Series ever. And now I've adjusted to what I told the doctor straight out. I can never take Adderall again because I can't be dealing with the ups and downs. It's just brutal to me. And so now the doctor has me on Vyvanse, and it's a extended release, and I'm not up and down at all.
It's similar to Adderall. It does what it does, but instead of getting the whole dose at once, it releases it throughout the day.
It's a lot like Adderall. It's got one different chemical in it, and that one different chemical I forgot what it's called, but it is really leveled me. I mean, like I have great focus, and I'm happy every day. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really hard to, and I'm off the pain meds, right? So one of the things that I still have to deal with is I take gabapentin, which is for nerve disorders. And anybody out there that ever took gabapentin, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If they've ever had like an injury where we have nerve pain, the doctor will give you like Lyrica or gabapentin. And unfortunately, it makes you really brain dead. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're like, you don't even know what's going on. So so as much as I tried to fight, like I said at the World Series, without taking anything, after the first 2 weeks of of like, it seemed like I was just playing terrible. You know, I needed to get some focus, and you know, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle, but overall, like even once I got on it's so crazy, but like once I got on the Vyvanse, right, things were really looking good. I was winning. I was playing good. I was happy, and then they had about a year and a half ago what they called a worldwide Adderall shortage, right? And so everybody's kind of switched to Vyvanse. And when they switched to Vyvanse, now in October this year, they had a worldwide Vyvanse shortage.
Now
right?
Shortage of
so
that.
I couldn't play poker for a month because like I learned, well, you know, in the world, you have to learn from your mistakes, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm never going back to Adderall. I don't have any Vyvanse. And when you get off of something, when you've been on it, you kind of get a little bit depressed also. So I spent the whole month of October, I didn't play one hand of poker because they had a worldwide Vyvanse shortage. Now they got it back, and there we go.
So for everybody who hasn't seen the documentary yet or isn't familiar with your backstory, can you explain a little bit of where this injury stemmed from, what the actual protocols were for your recovery, like how it took you down such a dark hole?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of touched on how it was caused in the documentary. I didn't go into full detail because I didn't want to throw people under the bus. But like, in all reality, if it wasn't for Antonio Sfondieri, I wouldn't have the back injury I have.
So like, so he was supposed to give you a ride home, and then he didn't, and then so you got a ride with Dan Bilzerian, who
correct.
Like, this is how I understood it. You got in the car, and before you get your seatbelt on, he just slammed on the gas.
This is what happened. So Antonio, you know, people in the poker world knows how Antonio is. So, but like, he invited me to go to his house to eat dinner, and then he said, then we'll go out and party at the Encore. And this is, I don't know if you guys remember, but they used to have these playing cards, right? And we actually just signed a deal. We're doing more playing cards again, but they were like playing cards. You sign your autograph to them.
Mm-hmm. From Bay 101.
Yeah, but no, just regular. They had like regular playing, like
a deck of cards.
These were actually like baseball cards.
Okay.
So they had for poker, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're really nice cards, whatever. So we all went up. We're at the top of the Rio, and we're signing we had to sign 3,000 cards a piece, right? It was me, Antonio, Greg Raymer, all the Full Tilt people, whoever it was, right? And Brian at Poker Royalty got that set up for us, so we signed those cards. And then Antonio says, yeah, come to my house, we'll eat dinner, and then we'll go out. And I'm like, all right. So I leave they don't have Uber back then, so I leave my car at the Rio, and I go to Antonio's house. And I'll never forget it, because I get there, and Antonio goes to his room after he introduced me to his father, and I'm sitting there by myself, and who does this shit? What the fuck, right? And then Antonio's girlfriend comes over, and she goes into his room, and I'm sitting there for an hour and 20 minutes by myself in his kitchen. And I'm his dad's really cool, by the way. Everybody knows that. But says about 2 or 3 words to his dad, and I'm just like, is this guy for real? Really? And so now he finally comes out, and then dinner gets ready, and Dan Bilzerian comes over, and a couple other people come over, and about 6 or 7 of us, we eat dinner. And then after dinner, Antonio goes, well, I don't feel like going out. Can you take a cab home? I mean, he can't even drive me home because, everybody knows how Antonio is. So, so Dan says to me, well, I have a race car, 9-second Cobra. If you don't mind, I'll drive you home in it. And I used to have a race car growing up when I was 16. So I love race cars. So I'm like, all right. So we're pulling out, right? And I'm putting the seatbelt on. I get the seatbelt on, but you have to you have to be braced, back before you hit the gas. And so the seatbelt's on, I'm forward, and then he hits the gas, I mean, that car is the most powerful car. I mean, you have a 9-second fucking Cobra, it's fucking fast. And next thing you know, I'm like grabbing the middle of my back. I'm screaming. And I kind of like fall out of his car. It was my car was parked in the parking garage at the Rio, and I'm laying on the ground screaming, and then the pain goes away, right? And I never have that pain again for 6 years. And
wow.
I didn't, but we don't think, the reason why I'm able to piece it all together is the surgeon said that this injury happened 6 years ago, right? And because of the calcification on the disc, they know exactly when the injury happened. They kept saying, well, what happened 6 years ago? Were you in a car accident? Because I had a thoracic spine contusion of my spinal cord. And people don't know what thoracic is. That's your midsection. That's what your ribs cover.
Right.
Right. So like nobody can you can't get a thoracic spine contusion without being in like some kind of accident or something like really hardcore. An uninjury related thoracic spine contusion happens to 1 in 3 million people. Now, for almost 8 months after surgery, I just figured I was the 1 in 3 million that had a thoracic spine contusion. And then from, the surgery, I developed intercostal neuralgia, which happens to 1 in 1,000 people.
Jeez.
So here I was thinking, okay, I got the 1 in 3 billion. There's 2 people on earth that have the injury I have.
Yeah.
But then I putting the pieces together, I'm able to piece together, what caused the injury and how it was caused. But the sick part about it is like, and again, I don't want to play victim because I used to do that. I played victim mentality for years. Is the fact that I drove out to, I used to own a company called Deep Stacks Poker Tour. And as we were driving out to do our event over at the bike that we signed a contract with, my car hits a pothole in the middle of the road. Boom, right? But the BMWs, they have run flat tires. So like I pull over the side of the road, there's this big chunk taken out of the rim. The tire, it says flat, but we're able to drive to Commerce. And so the next morning, I have to go to bring the car to the BMW to get the rim and the tire fixed because it was all under warranty. And they gave me like a rent-a-car because I had to run back and be the host of the Deep Stacks Poker Tour. When I get back to the bike and we're playing, a chair breaks, and I go boom straight to the ground, right? And I start screaming in pain and holding the middle of my back, right? And you don't think anything of it. 5 people from security of the bicycle club come out. You need to go to the hospital. Are you okay? And the pain kind of goes away, and I just get up and I'm like, no, I'm fine, right? And
what was the time? This was like 2015?
2014.
2014, okay.
And the crazy part about it is the fact that the girl I was dating at the time, like, she's like anal about everything. Like, she's all like, there's no way she wouldn't have let me file a report with the bicycle club. And my partner at the time was like, no, don't file a report. You feel fine. It'll make our company look bad.
Yeah.
Right? And all I had to do was file a report, and the bicycle club would have to probably give me $20 or $30 million.
Sure.
Because as it turns out, when that chair broke and I went to the ground, it almost severed my spinal cord.
Jesus.
And all of a sudden, like 2 weeks after that, I felt numbness in my feet. And I thought that the numbness was coming, because I had just started taking testosterone injections. I thought it was some kind of like allergic reaction to it. And they kept saying, oh, there's no such, and it's unheard of. That can't be it. Next thing you know, I'm playing at the World Series of Poker. It's the only other losing World Series I had besides last year. And I played like 15 events. I went 0 for 15. And I kept telling everybody, there's something neurologically wrong with me. They go, well, what do you mean neurologically wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. Hands are supposed to raise, I'm folding. Hands are supposed to call, I'm raising. It's like my brain wasn't working. And as it turns out, as you all know, the spinal cord controls your whole body and your whole brain. There was something neurologically wrong with me. My fucking spinal cord was almost severed. And as it turns out, that was at the World Series ended like the July 18th, you know, I'm going around doctor to doctor to doctor trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And they couldn't figure it out. And I did every test they did. And then finally, we said, well, the only one you haven't given him is a thoracic MRI. And they're like, well, he hasn't been in a car accident. Why would we give him one of those? But it took me 2.5 weeks to get the insurance to cover that. And then the next thing you know, it gets done, and the doctor hasn't called us. And we're like, I guess the MRIs are good. Can you check for us? Fucking doctors, right? Yeah. Well, hold on. Oh, it says you have a 7.5 millimeter disc protrusion, but we don't think that's your problem. You don't think it's my problem? Are you out of your fucking mind? You know what I'm saying? Like, and it says on the bottom of the report, see neurosurgeon immediately.
Yeah.
As it turns out, like, I'm going to place to place to place, and like all these neurosurgeons, like, I'll never forget this. Like, I'll cut it short because I could talk about the whole. That's a lot of the documentary just basically explains this, but like, so these neurosurgeons, they're like booked for months, right? They're like hard to get into. So my dad played bridge with the mother of like a guy named is Dr. Duke. He's supposed to be the best neurosurgeon in Las Vegas. So she gets me a appointment with him the next day. You know, no, I'm calling around. Everybody's booked for months, right? And I'll never forget this because it's like he looks at the MRI, turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Where'd you get this?" I'm like, I don't know. You know, I have no idea because at the time I don't know it's because the chair broke or because of the because of the.
Yeah.
All I know is like I'm getting. I kept telling everybody I'm getting paralyzed. Everybody thought I was fucking crazy. He's like, dude, this is the worst injury we've ever seen. I can't touch it. There's the number one neurosurgeon in Las Vegas saying, I can't touch it. So now I know I'm in big trouble, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing led to another, which led to another doctor, which led to another doctor. And the last doctor, his name was Dr. William Smith, like, he had like 100 people in his office. It took me like an hour and a half just to get from his office into the back room, right? And then once he looks at the MRI, like all those 100 people that were sitting in his office, like he never even saw them that day. He spent the next 2 hours in the back with me telling me how you will be paralyzed in the next 2 weeks if you do not get this operated on. And I was already about 70%, 80% paralyzed. I couldn't walk at all.
Yeah.
And then he flew a team in. That was on a Thursday, and then on the 16th, and he flew a team in from China, and we had surgery on Friday, the 19th of October, 2014.
Yeah, I remember catching up with you post-op. It might have been like 2016 or 2017. We were flying to the Bay for Bay 101, and you weren't in good shape then. But I think that was more of a byproduct of pain management and
correct
being kind of not necessarily strung out on opioids, but it was very clear that you were taking. Let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Well, first, what's the prognosis now that you're 8 years, 10 years removed from the surgery?
Okay, so when they did the surgery, I was on T7. There was a disc that was 2 millimeters on T8, and the doctor said, "Well, you probably won't have to worry about it for at least 10 years." Well, unfortunately, when they did the
was it a fusion?
Yeah, when they fuse your back, right? There was a little bit of movement with the pressure of the back on that other disc, and within the first month, it moved to 4 millimeters. The other disc pressing on the spinal cord, and so. And again, I also developed something called intercostal neuralgia, where they put a spinal cord stimulator in my back. And that was in January of 2019. And that's where my life kind of changed. Because from 2014 through 2019, the pain, I mean, what you saw, like, you know, it was just, I had no life. I had nothing. Like, I mean, I didn't know what I'm going to do because I can't play. You can't, you know, one of the biggest mistakes I made after the surgery was going back and playing really high stakes, like 4 months post-surgery, and like I was just dealing with so much pain, and it was just a nightmare. So, you know, as it turns out, that 4 millimeters, and this is one of the reasons why nobody really sees me in the poker world, is the more I walk, okay, it's I'll try to explain it to you. So, the more I walk, I have like a dead spot in my spinal cord, and it's called myomalacia. And so the more I walk, it's kind of like if you have a bruise on your arm, right? What happens when you hit the bruise over and over and over and over and over? It swells up, right? So the more I walk, then it'll swell up, it'll press against this nerve, shoot this pain down my leg into my foot that you'd wish you're fucking dead. It's so bad. And it's just a nightmare. So that's why, I'm able to, the World Series allowed me to bring my own chair, which I had custom built. Mm-hmm. And then I have my scooter. And then now I even stay at the World Series, I just stayed at the Wynn for 11 days during the WPT. And so when I'm able to get out of bed, jump on a scooter, bring my chair, I don't do much walking. But let's just say I want to go to a hockey game, which I love to go to the hockey games. I don't have a scooter. I have to walk. Yeah. And half the time, not all the time, but half the time, by the time we're done with the hockey game, people have to carry me to my fucking car because I can't walk. And so it's really unfortunate, and there's this other disc now that went to 4 millimeters 2 months after surgery, and it's at 5 millimeters now. But I had an MRI done recently, right before the World Series. I'm sorry, because I was very, very worried because I was really struggling. Like I was not just with the pain, but you get the weakness where you feel like you're getting paralyzed. Yeah. And so like it doesn't really, the pain I could deal with. I've been dealing with it for 10 years, but like when you have to deal with like the weakness and all of a sudden you're like walking like, and you're like, oh my God, this is, because I had a second opinion in 2017. They said by within 2 years, you're going to need the surgery again. And 100%. Well, we're talking now, we're 7 years and I don't need the surgery again. And the main reason why I don't need the surgery again is because I don't do walking. You know what I'm saying? So, I play poker from the house. I play in a private game. And luckily for me, that kind of changed my life and allowed me to make money, have fun, same kind of group of people, for 4 or 5 years straight. And it kind of gave me my life back, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of where I am now, just trying to decide like, okay, should I go and buy one of these scooters, put it on the back of my car, and then start playing live. I love playing live. I love being around people. I go down and I play on the streams like a couple times a year. You know what I'm saying? And I love poker. My love for poker hasn't changed. But my ability to be able to play, it's like it's not easy. I don't just get up and just go play poker. Like if I'm in pain that day, I got to put pain patches on me. So it's tough.
With all the hurdles, like, and your age, what are you now? 58?
56.
56. So, what's the trajectory? What's the timeline here? Because I think a lot of what you're describing here, obviously this is physically taxing, mentally taxing, and it's very unique to an injury and an unforeseen hurdle. But I think most players throughout the course of their career, prior to quote unquote making it, go through some sort of like struggle that does tax them in this way. Obviously not to this degree, right. But you go broke a bunch of times, or you find yourself out of action. You have to get a job. Everybody has their hero's tale that got them to the point of getting over the hump and quote unquote making it. And I think that, obviously you've had, in my opinion, a Hall of Fame career. So it's clear that there was a period of time where you did for sure make it, whether that was, 2000 to 2011 or whatever, but it was clearly the pre-Black Friday era when you were a TV celebrity. Aren't you kind of like back at square one now, even though you have the chops to be a higher stake professional? What does the next 20, 30 years look like?
Well, that's a good question. So the fact that I'm able to play at a high level when I play, in other words, if I if I decide I'm going to play a poker tournament or whatever, like I get myself mentally prepared. Like I get up, I'll give you and you'll be happy when you hear this. So like 3 months ago, I realized that, you know, losing weight and working out is not, it's not, unfortunately, are those the dogs?
Yeah, they're going at it. They love each other.
Okay. I realized that like being able to work out, get in good shape is, you know, it's just not on my, I can't work out, you know? So, Ben, you know, Ben, I'm from Jerusalem, one of my best friends. He got me on a meal plan about 3 months ago.
Okay. And
like I eat 3 meals a day on this meal plan. I'm down to like 210 now. My goal is to be around 195 by the World Series. So I eat 3 meals a day, a protein bar a day, a protein shake a day. And I've been losing around 1 to 2 pounds a week. And I think that eating right is real important to being able to play right. So like I'm not on the Adderall no more. I'm not on the pain pills anymore. I take a 40 milligram of Vyvanse that will probably be moved up to about 50 milligrams, and I eat right, and so my mental acuity is really good, and so I don't think I'm back at square one because I whenever I play, I still know what everybody has.
No, I'm not saying skill wise. I'm saying bigger picture wise. Like
bigger picture.
What can you do for your career at this point? You know.
So that's a good question. So my goal is, this is the goal I set to myself, is to play poker for full time for 2 more years.
Okay.
Take as much as I can win, and you know, I put like I put a lot of my, you know, I was able to put some of my winnings, you know, in crypto.
Okay.
And so you know, I put myself in a decent shape financially, not a great shape, you know, but it's a far cry from 2018 where I was $783,000 in debt and had not a quarter to my name, you know. You know, I've done well. I've built myself, you know, where I could pay my bills and, you know, survive. But it's like, you know, I still crave. I crave the like you just said, like this, not really the spotlight, because I've never was like at the top of my career where when I was like one of the most famous poker players in the world. It's like I wasn't. It's not really happiness when you can't go to dinner without anybody fucking wanting your autograph or picture. You know what I'm saying? Like Phil might like that, and Daniel might like that, or lots of people. I mean, people want to be famous in poker. Like, I mean, as a D-lister, when I was, I called myself a D-list celebrity because, I mean, now I was even on the Kathy Griffin show at the time. You know, she had a show called like the D-list.
It was like a dating show, wasn't it?
No. Shit.
No, it was called D-list. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was called Kathy Griffin. Something about D-list celebrity. Yeah, it was pretty funny, but no, I got on. I went on a date with her. It's pretty funny if you haven't seen it.
Okay,
you should Google it. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, you know, it's like it was, you know, it was weird. It was like I never ever thought I'd be famous. Right. It's like it was the farthest thing from my mind. You know, and it's something like what you are. I remember like I was a D-list celebrity. Like I can't even imagine what the C, B, and A-list celebrities go through in their life because like it's miserable. Like
you lose your freedom in a kind of a way, right? Because you just can't like walk down the street and go to the store or do whatever you want to do without 1,000 people hassling you.
There was never like in 2005, 6, 7, 8, like you couldn't go to dinner without somebody coming up to you and like asking for an autograph and pick, you know. And I've never once turned somebody down, you know what I'm saying? And at the World Series, even now, like, you know, Daniel and Phil, they get their own break room, you know, at at the breaks, 'cause everybody like harasses them for autographs and picks. I don't get my own break room, so I mean, I do. You have a 15-minute break, like I do 10 autographs and picks every 15 minutes. So you got to just like rush to the bathroom, and then like, and it's kind of hard, you know what I'm saying? And so, but it was like nothing like it used to be. It's still pretty. I still do hundreds of autographs and picks. And honestly, like at the series, I love doing that. I love making people happy. I love when people come up to me and say, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in poker. You made me the person I am today. Like, it feels good. You know what I mean? It feels good when people, because I'm a really good-hearted person. I want people to, I want to help people in life. I want people to be happy. I want to make people happy. I don't want people to think less of me as a person. I just want to, I care about people, you know what I'm saying? So, even since the documentary's come out, like my DMs have just been like filled with people I don't know, never heard, and just like, it's the greatest poker documentary ever. They're like, it's amazing. You did a great, and it feels good, I mean, I'm humbled by it. Like, it's like, I put the documentary out for two reasons. A, for people to understand that what I go through every single day just to survive and still be able to play at a high level, and I want people to be inspired by it. I want people to realize that when things like you talked about, when people go off track and they go broke or whatever, it's not the end of the world. Like you fight. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's what I took away from the documentary the most was the extent of your injury. Because, people see, maybe they know you had some sort of injury. They see you at the World Series on your scooter and you have your own chair. Why does he have his own chair? And all these kind of things, right? But then when you watch the documentary, you're like, wow, this guy's really been through a lot. So like, it really is eye-opening to see what you went through and then like where you are today. So like, what do you think for, like you said, the next 2 years you want to play professionally? Are you going to focus on more like tournaments or cash games?
No, I've always been a cash game player. Yeah. And this is one thing, and I know Berkey knows what I'm saying here is 100% correct. It's like the tournaments scene it's all fake. You know what I'm saying? There's like 5 people that play on their own money, right? It's all fake. 99% of the tournament players are broke.
Don't get Berkey started on tournaments.
No, it's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? We could sit there and sugarcoat, oh, the poker economy is doing great. Look at these numbers that they're putting up. Isn't it amazing? Well, they're putting up these numbers because nobody can play cash games, because if you're not in a private game, you're just screwed. And people are trying to make a score, right? And most people, do I think I still play better than most people? Yeah, but like most people, like most people have learned how to play poker. You teach people how to play poker. A lot of other people teach people how to play poker. And like once like people learn how to play poker, like even if I'm this much better than them, right? That would take years to show. Like those people. You don't ever have to win a tournament.
There's so much variance.
So
and if you're gonna play for, like you said, 2 more years, like you might never realize your skill edge in playing tournaments, but in cash games, you have a much better chance of doing that.
So I'm gonna play full time at the World Series. 2 more years. In other words, I'm gonna put in like at least 30, 40, whatever the full schedule is, and then after that, it's hopefully I'll do well, maybe make a score or whatever, and. I'll always be in poker. I'll always do my podcast. You know what I'm saying? I'll always, I love poker. I mean, I live to play poker. You know what I'm saying? But not as much as I did before, because it's so much harder on me, So, that's kind of where, like I said, like where I stand is like, and again, the documentary was made for a couple reasons, because I want the poker world to understand that how hard it is for me, and yet I'm still competing at a high level.
Come here, Bolt.
Okay. Thanks for kicking me in the balls there, fucking dog. Appreciate it.
Yes, I think that's all reasonable. I wonder how much. I mean, like, look, a lot of this loops back to the Hall of Fame stuff, right?
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot, but after Robo, I don't think we're going to see somebody who exclusively plays cash get into the Hall.
Right.
I think that's just kind of it's a World Series sort of accolade.
It is.
You have to play tournaments, and there's some things I agree with what you said about MTTs. There's some I don't. Like it doesn't matter who's financing. It doesn't matter, to the degree that money is or isn't flowing in. What does kind of matter, or I think what we're discovering more and more, is that the higher the variance is in a game, the lower the win rate is that's available.
Mm-hmm.
And MTTs, by nature of, forcing you to play an elimination style type of event, just drastically raises variance. So yeah, you're right. Like the samples are low, but also it's the easiest thing to glorify. It's the easiest thing for media to grab a hold of. It's by far the most popular channel through which we can promote the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of give and take. I don't know what GG is going to do with the WSOP. I think we're all kind of like on pins and needles trying to.
I mean, I'm very good friends with Daniel. We've talked a lot, and I put Daniel on a high pedestal because of the fact like he's done so much for the game, and he's very, like one thing he told me, and it really hits my heart a lot, is like, when he left Poker Stars to go to GG, we're like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like GG is like a criminal fucking site when they first, they're like so much cheating going on, all the craziness. And like, like his goal was, try like hopefully 5 years down the road, we could build this into like a big poker site. Right. And like he told me, like, wow, 3 years, we're biggest poker site by 2x. And, and he was very humbled by it, and he really is, and that it shows like the character of a person. Like it shows you, like, we talk about the people that'll kill their mother for $1, or people who truly care about the game, that feel like they're blessed to be in the spot they're at, and they want to use that spot to promote poker in a way. And that's why I have so much respect for Daniel with that. And so, it's very interesting, what's going to happen with the World Series. I don't think anything's going to change. I think Ty and Jack are still going to run it. And I think, I do think that because, GG still they don't have really a license to run in the United States right now. They're working on it. It's a kind of a weird situation. Like GG is able to buy the World Series of Poker, but the company is not legalized in the United States. So I think that's a really, I don't know what,
Well, it'll still be Paris and Horseshoe. Or like being the operators.
Yeah, you're not going to see any difference, especially in the next 5 years.
Well, I think what you're talking to, part of their purchasing of the WSOP is having access to their gaming license in Nevada with regards to online. So we're almost certain to see
that's what I kind of was thinking too. You know what I'm saying? And that's another reason why they're cleaning up a lot more now than they should.
Well, they had no choice. They had 2 years of due diligence that they had to pass.
Correct.
In order to
and a lot of things that you said were very truthful. And even I had, brought it up to Daniel, it's like, hey, you got this site that's blowing up, you got to fix X, Y, and Z, and like it's really important, what I'm saying? And it's just not like something he doesn't know, what I'm saying? And that's kind of where they stand there,
What, since we're talking about the Hall of Fame, what I guess, like, what level of desire do you want or do you possess to be in the Hall? Like, how important is that achievement?
Well, it was really, the thing is, we all know I should have been in years ago, what I'm saying? But unfortunately, I wasn't. And there was many people put in front of me that I played cash games with every day that were, it's just like a joke. Like they couldn't hold my.
I think the problem is that you probably were correct to get in between that 2012 and 2018 time frame, but you were at your lowest.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
I think that bullet point of like respect from your peers
Yeah.
was a really hard one to fulfill when.
Which is one of the reasons why I made the documentary.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't want to hear like, oh, you know, from like, oh, what has Mike done since 2013? You know, I made like 15 final tables just because I haven't won one, you know, and it's like, up until this last year, Daniel hadn't won one for 10 years either, but like, you know, he was portrayed in one way and I was portrayed as.
I mean, to be fair though, like I don't think you have to add anything to your resume. Lane Flack got in 2 years ago, and I said that he was a shoo-in because he had just passed away. It's an easy way to pay homage to his career.
And Lane should have been. Listen, me and Lane were pretty good friends, and like 2 weeks before he passed away, he came over to my house, and we talked for about 2 hours, and I really. You know, he called me up. He wanted, you have some Adderall for me. And I don't like giving to anybody, whatever, but I said I could give you like one. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew that Lane had some kind of a, dependence problem. And I didn't want it to lead down the wrong way. You know, like me giving him Adderall is bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we talked about, oh, I'm doing great. I'm clean. I haven't done anything in forever, you know, and then I find out after he passed away from Ted that wasn't true and that he was still doing drugs. And it really kind of bothered me because we talked for 2 hours, 2 weeks before he passed away at my house. And unfortunately, he died from a line of cocaine that was laced with fentanyl. And, people originally said, oh, he had these sleeping pills. He had this at his side, by his bedside. Well, when the toxicology came up, it was cocaine and fentanyl. And Lane would never do fentanyl. Lane was always an upper guy. Yeah. So he obviously did a line of cocaine laced with fentanyl. And so I've been really, a proponent of whatever it takes for the politicians or whatever to get this fentanyl out of this country. I mean, 127,000 people a year, 103 2 years ago, 127,000 last year, died from fentanyl overdoses. And most of those people, like 80% of those people, they didn't even know they were taking it.
Right.
They were either taking a synthetic opioid for pain that was laced with fentanyl, or they did a line of cocaine with their friends that was laced with fentanyl. So, I used to do drugs, going down that road and being sober, and I'm all for sobriety and helping people that have struggled, and it's a shame, when Lane did die, I was like, I even said I'll take a back seat because that was a year I thought I was going to get in for Lane to get in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
I have to be honest, looking at the list, I think, and for what it's worth, like what the point I was trying to make is the back end of Lane's career was hardly impressive.
No, he was done after he did all the drugs pretty much in 2000.
And truthfully, like if you compare resumes, yours dwarfs his.
Yeah.
You were a much bigger personality. You were, and I'm not trying to make a case against Lane.
No. And listen, I was a much better cash game. He was a terrible cash game player.
I can attest to that.
And
but I lobbied hard to say that I thought Lane was a shoe in there, and I don't think he qualifies as a Hall of Famer big picture. But like looking at the list, I'm not kidding that 2013 to 2018 was Lane might be the last old school guy that gets in, as far as I can tell. 2013 was Scotty and Tom McAvoy. Like to me, you and Scotty are synonymous.
Yeah.
There's so much overlap there between like what you represented to that era, what your actual accolades were. He wins the main event, but you final table it twice. Like that easily could have went the other way.
Yeah, when I flop a king against aces, and if it doesn't come running hearts, I just win the 05
Right,
series.
Right. So there's a lot going on there. Obviously, the following year, Daniel gets in, which that was a foregone conclusion. Right. John Jawanda, Jen Harmon. The following year after that, again, no questions asked. Carlos Mortensen, Todd Brunson. Todd, one of the greatest, mixed game cash players. Yes. So of course he was going to get in. And then you start to have like Devilfish get in 2017. Again, kind of an homage to him passing.
Listen, and a lot of people in Europe get mad at me when I say it, but I'm like, the Devilfish, I love the guy, once he got his life together. But like he only got his life together the last 2 years, 2-3 years. Like before that, like he was a disaster. You know what I'm saying? Like he was he was a womanizer. Like
I just think it's another clear case if he didn't pass, he doesn't get in.
Never. You know what I'm saying?
And those slots, like a lot of those slots you could have filled. Yeah. But the issue becomes that like you went from your peak in 2013 winning the NBC Heads Up Championship.
And my fourth bracelet too.
Correct. Yeah. So this is pinnacle of your career after Black Friday, which, obviously you could have never internalized this at the time, but I think looking back in hindsight, it's pretty obvious that injury or no injury, you're almost certain to suffer a decline in your career because it was the turning over point of poker, right? The boom had ended. We had now moved into the online grinder era. Like my generation was now coming into their own. The Galfons were becoming the Galfons at that stage. And not that the torch was necessarily being passed, but it was abundantly clear that there were going to be two worlds that were no longer like overlapping. When you were coming up, and even when I was a young grinder, you played cash, you played tournaments, you played online, you played live. If there was EV to chase, you chased it.
Right.
By 2013, you picked a lane. You picked a discipline that you were going to be the absolute best at, and you tried to make a case for it. And I think now that we fast forward to like the 2025 class, you're going to have guys like Seaver come up, Galfond, Schulman. Right. Is going to be nominated. Liv Baree. I mean,
Rash just got in.
Rash just got in last year. Yeah. It's like,
well, the thing that really makes no sense is there was 2 people a year that got in the Hall of Fame up until 2020 COVID.
Right.
And I don't know why they changed it, but it's like as poker grows, like the poker world is 10x bigger, and I was expecting them. We all thought they'd go from 2 to 4.
Right.
And they went from 2 to 1, which to me makes zero sense. Like if you compare, let's just say like the Football Hall of Fame, right? There's like 53 people on each team times 32. So there's like 1,500 people, right? A year. We have like 1,500 people in the smallest tournaments.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I always made
they put what, 7 people a year in?
Right. Every Hall of Fame does that. They all put in multiple people every year from different industries. Right? You get like someone who's a commentator who gets in. You get someone who's a coach, right? You get in like different. So like I think they need to expand it. I think they need to have categories for different sections of our industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so like let's go back to when Brian Rast got in. Okay, Brian Rast, the first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. Brian Rast, to me, people could disagree. There will never be another 2009, 2010 Phil Ivey, but to me, Brian Rast is the next best thing. I mean, I used to play mixed games with Brian where we would chase him around the table because he was terrible. He could only play PLO, and Brian Rast turned into like a world-class mixed game PLO no limit player, like kind of like Scott Seaver, right? And it's like you don't, I listen to you hear Doug Polk talk about put his 100 top poker players in the world, and I laugh like about 80 of them. Like let's fucking go, you know what I'm saying? and you can't be considered one of the top 100 poker players in the world if you just play no limit holdem. Right. If you want to be considered one of the best poker players in the world, you better learn how to play all the mixed games at a high level. And if you don't even talk to me. You don't deserve to be in that class. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that, do you think you're in like getting inducted is going to hinge on like winning another bracelet? Do you think it's going to come down to that?
Let's go back to that. Right. So like 2 years ago when I was, Brian Rast finished 7th at that final table. And, I ended up, I don't know if I knocked him out or somebody else knocked him out, but like I felt like I've got to win this. I can't let Brian finish in front of me.
Right.
I've got to get in, and the thing is it's not really a smart thing to do or think like that. And that the thing is Hall of Fame for me isn't really for me. It's like I wanted to be in before my dad passed away because everything I did in poker was always for my father. Like, did he ever come to my final tables? No. But was he listen, he was very, it was just, my dad was a good guy, but I played my life. Like you want your parents to be proud of you, right? You want to like say what you want. Like everybody, if you're a good-hearted person, like you do things for your family. You like everything you do, Berkey, you think about, I want my mom and dad to be proud. I want them to see me doing this, So when my dad passed away and I wasn't in, it really bothered me. Like, it really bothered me because it's like, now what? My mom getting older. Now I got to try and get in from my mom. Mm-hmm. And so, here I am, and I'm playing head up. I'm like, I need to get this number 5 here. I just have to, And so I wasn't playing, again, I told you about the mistakes I kind of made, right? But like I wasn't playing to win the tournament. I was playing to get in the Hall of Fame. And that's really not really what you should be doing. You know what I'm saying? You should be playing poker, and you should be playing, doing your best, and whatever happens, happens. And, he won the 50K that year. As it turned out, he was already a lock. So here I am, trying to beat him in this tournament and win this tournament. And it was already decided, And so, and me and Brian, you don't see this in my documentary, but I had a hug with Brian I was at his Hall of Fame induction, and I kind of cried on his shoulder. And he's like, Mike, I'm going to do whatever I can, try and get this rule changed back to like at least 2 a year.
I think, for what it's worth, and I said this to Daniel, because he said he wants to get it changed to one industry person, one player. I said, like, for the next decade, it should be like 6 to 8. Mm-hmm. You have to get rid of the bottleneck, because to me, like, no offense, you're drawing stone fucking dead in your lifetime to get in.
Right. Unless I win the 50K.
I don't think it matters. I don't think anything you can do.
I think that I think if he wins the Players Championship, he's gonna get it. Just because.
Or if I final table the main or something like really big.
I
it's
strongly
the public
disagree.
Perception that
it's not. They're not the ones voting. That's the thing.
The public puts you on the ballot.
You'll be on the ballot,
right?
You'll be on the ballot from now until the day you die, for sure. You deserve to be.
It's the people, and I know who the people who are voting, right?
But the public can pressure the people voting. All right, the public can be like, he deserves to be in. And enough people say you deserve to be in, then people might change their votes.
That's another thing, right? Is like the people that are in right now, like they are like, it's like people. It's not like they decide. Yes, they have a decision, right? But they also have like if you're not buddy, they lean a certain way.
Yeah,
right?
but that's not my point. That's not why you're drawing dead. This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, and why I'm saying the 50K Player Championship wouldn't matter or anything.
Yeah.
You cannot rival the peak years of your career. What you did on your resume already is Hall of Fame worthy.
Right.
So nothing you add to that resume is going to change anyone's mind if they haven't already decided that you belong. And the issue is that for the next 10 years, there are going to be 100 guys, maybe 50, that are world fucking class.
Agree.
Like we're coming into the era.
About this the other day.
We're coming
All
to
the
the
people
era
that are turning 40. Yeah.
Jason Kuhn is 38 or 39.
Yeah.
Ike, Bonomo, Vanessa. Right. I mean, it's a never-ending, all the way down to Mercier, who's like 36 at this point, right? 35, something along those lines. That entire era is going to get in, and most of the people are
Mercy is like 39. He'll be in he's eligible.
I was gonna say he's
I didn't think he was that old.
Yeah, he's not that much younger.
He's either eligible this next year or the year
old,
after.
So
I didn't think we were 3 years or 4 years apart. But anyway, point is, almost everyone I named is like first ballot caliber.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And they're going to be fighting with each other to even be on the nom.
I agree.
So it's like, unfortunately, what you did 10 years ago, which was by all accounts Hall of Fame worthy, is going to get lost in the shuffle, and nothing you can do can challenge that, because there are kids out there that are 26 that will just one-up you every single day. You know, if you go and have a lifetime career achievement, like
if
winning
I
the
go to
Player
the World
Championship.
Series and I win 2 bracelets, I mean that you know,
Yeah.
that
I
would
just-
You're going to be one of 3 people that win 2 bracelets that summer.
yeah.
But it's different when he wins it. I think because like you said, like the public perception is that you are washed, you can't play anymore. You know that's not the case.
I
right?
know that. Well, see, not only do I know that that's not the case, but I mean, like Phil. I mean, when Phil sits there and makes these final tables in these mixed games, like 2021, he made 7 final tables in 7 different games. Well, it's like in 2020, I said to Phil, I'm like, Phil, your days of winning no limit hold'em bracelets are pretty much over. And
Phil's
if
are
you
too
want to
big,
continue
yeah.
to get your bracelet count going, you need to learn the mix games,
right.
And so I spent a lot of time with him, right, and teach him the mix games, and like, you know, it's kind of funny, but like when Phil was at the final tables and he's in these mix games, they'd be like, wow, Phil, you play mix games, like you're way better now. And he's like, yeah, it's because Mike taught me. And then they would laugh.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, ha, 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 ha. You know, and he would always say, you know, and the truth of the matter is like, you know, I don't give a fuck. Like, I know how good I play mixed games. Like, you know, why am I not playing mixed games now? Like my whole life up until 2019, I played 400, 800 mixed games, right? And I got to, once I started playing No Limit Hold'em, right, for exclusively, you know, I got to realizing that, you know, when you're good at No Limit Hold'em, you win, dude. You just fucking win. If you're like one of the top 3 people at the table, it's like I tell people all the time, what is poker about? Poker's not about who the best player is. Poker's about the fact that when you sit down at the table, you're the top 3 people at the table. If you're not, move down, move to a different game where you are one of the top 3 people on the table. Because poker's not, this is what one of the things, like why, Mike, why don't you play the Poker Go events? Well, why? Why do I want to see your dick is bigger? You know what I'm saying? It's like all those guys, Ike and Daniel Bonomo, Toxin, like there's nobody dominating. Like one guy has a good year, they don't have a good year for 3 more years, right? One guy has a good, because everybody knows what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So the money just goes around. You know, like one of the people that consistently does do good, and I praise him, and he doesn't get the praise he deserves, is a very close friend of mine, a guy who used to be addicted to drugs, who's clean as can be right now, and his name is Chino Reem. Okay, Chino Reem, to me, might be the best poker player in the world. This guy wins a 5,000 people $1 million tournament every year. You know, now he's gone into the Poker Go studio and he's won like 3 or 4 events. You know,
I think when you start to talk about guys like Chino and guys like yourself, it's a lot of the lore that's attached to it, right? Like the way Galfon did it, the way Ike did it, the way Ras did it, it was a very surgical career. They got in, they understood where their edges lied, and they pressed upon them. Scott Seaver's a little bit more eclectic, right? He's a little bit more the mad genius who is willing to throw shit against the wall. He's a little more creative. He's also a little bit more likely to spiral and let his emotion. And we like that. Scott's much more of a character, and that's no slight against the other guys.
When
right?
I won NBC Ed Up in 2013, and me and Scott were in the semifinals, right? I had never, ever, and I'll say it today, that played with somebody that was that good, like Head Up, right? And I'm like, okay, because I had a dream that I was going to win it, right? I'm like, okay, focus. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got to win this, right? And it was hard. You know, it was hard. I mean, he raised every single fucking button, right? And you know, it's just like I in poker, right? You measure your opponent, and then you find what their weakness is, right? And so, you know, this is, you know, playing against Scott. I didn't feel he had any weaknesses. And I was trying to play small ball, you know, and that's, you know, most of the great players do play small ball. And, you know, I found myself playing a flip with him with 7s against Ace Jack, and he wins it, and I'm down at like 3 big blinds, right? And I'm like, oh man, I had a dream I'm going to win this. How am I going to come back, right? And then all of a sudden I jammed a couple times and he folded, and then the next thing you know, I win a flip. I'm up to 6 bigs. Now I'm up to 12 bigs, right? And then all of a sudden the cards come my way, and we're back to even, and we played a 3.5 hour head up match, and then all of a sudden we're all in. I have Ace 10, he has Jack 10, right? I'll never forget this because it sticks in my mind. You know, there's a lot of poker players, like, and you play, like, there's like me. I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I could tell you. You could ask me poker hands from any tournament or whatever, and for some reason my brain just works great when it comes to this. And we're all in. He has Jack 10, I have Ace 10, right? And it comes Jack Deuce 3 on the flop, and I'm like, Scott, and I'll never. And you'll see the video if you see the video. If you go look at the NBC Head Up, I'm like, doesn't matter, Scott, you can't win. I had a dream. I had a dream I won, right? And now it comes a 4 on the turn, right? So I'm like, okay, I can win with a 5, an ace, or, you know, whatever. Bank ace on the river. I win that, and I end up head up against Phil, and I really dominated the match against Phil. And in the first match against Phil, right, I completely dominated him. He played way too tight, right? So now he makes an adjustment, and then he starts 3-betting every hand, raising it. He went into super aggro mode, right? But I saw it like right after 3 hands. Like I knew he was going to adjust, but after 3 hands, I saw it, right? So what did I do? I let him just think he could just rob me. Like I limped the button. I limped every button instead of raising every button, so he couldn't 3-bet me. And then, you know, I would see flops in position, and the next thing you know, he won like 85% of the pots in the first hour, and I had the chip lead because I flop a flush on a 7 high board, and he had ace 7, and he couldn't get away from it. And you know, now I have the chip lead, and I have him pretty much dead, and I pick up kings, and he picks up ace king, and he somehow turns an ace, and we're back to even. He wins the second round, and now it's a shame that one of the things is the TV cameras didn't follow me and Phil to the back room, because the shit talking in the back room was so insane. He's like,
God, they couldn't leave those mics on for that.
He's like, yeah, man. He goes, I got a little too aggressive. He goes, I go a little. I looked at him like that, like, really? He goes, but now I got you where you want him. I'm like, Phil, you don't got shit, buddy. I'm like, I told you I had a dream I want to win. You're drawing dead. And the truth of the matter is, I've played Phil Hellmuth on TV. We've probably played 9 times head up, and 8 times he was the best player. But on this day, he wasn't even close to the best player. I found like, I don't know, it's for people out there that have never found the zone, or they've seen, or they have found the zone, they could kind of relate to what I'm saying. But it's like, when you find the zone, it's an unexplainable thing. Your brain is working like 10x what it normally does. Yeah. And you just see everything. And you know, the next thing you know, Phil makes a big mistake early on a hand, where he had top pair, top kicker, and he paid me off, and I got out to like a 3-1 chip lead in the head up in the third match, and there comes the people, if they haven't looked at it, if they haven't seen the final hand of the NBC head up at 2013, they could go look it up. But like I raised, I think it was I had like 2 diamonds. I forgot. Queen 4 diamonds, I think I had. And it come 2 diamonds on the board. And I had raised, and he called, and it was king high board, and he checked, and I bet I made a pretty big bet, like 125, and he knew when I bet, like, that I wasn't bluffing, right? So now the turn card comes, and he checks, and I moved all in, right? And he's in the tank for like 2 minutes. He has top pair 10 kicker, but he knows I'm not bluffing. You know what I'm saying? Because like we're in this match, we're kind of playing small ball. You know, like, so, you know, he knows I'm not big balling it without a hand. And after about 2 minutes, he calls, right? Or he moves all in. I'm sorry, I didn't move all in. I made a big bet and left myself like 308,000 behind, right? And he moves all in. I'm like, fuck. And he yells out loud, honey, we got him, honey. We got him, honey. Right? And I'm like, I go, you don't have anything yet. I go, I got a flush draw here. Right? And I said to him, and if I call, right? If I call, now we started with 800,000 apiece, but if I call, he has 808. And I have 792 if I lose, right? Which I'm even, and I feel like I'm dominating. I feel like I have control of the match, and so I said to myself, well, I'm like, Phil, I might just call here. I'm like, so just hold your horses. I'm like, and I know I'm not getting the right price, okay? But I also know I got a chance to end the tournament, right? If a diamond comes, and if not, we're basically even in chips. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what, Phil? I'm like, fuck it. I call. Put the
like
money
a
out there.
magnum, Mike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. There it is.
57
8
Magnum, you know.
There it is. You picked
That's
it
a
up.
big bullet, buddy.
Yeah, watch this.
Square if I call? I guess I can go for the win, huh? I got a flush draw.
252 and a chance to win, Mikey.
Matusow's weighing his options
I'm
here.
going for the win.
I will say this is great TV.
Yes.
Throws no guts, no
This
glory,
truly
but
is great
mathematically,
TV.
This
Amazing.
is a bad call.
If Mike hits one of his 9 outs, he is the 2013 National Heads Up Poker champ.
Big favorite here.
Go for the win, baby.
If not, Phil Hellmuth doubles up, and this match is just about even.
Is that
Is it
Bob
indeed
Costas on the
Mike's
call?
time?
Bang.
Yeah.
Easy game.
Yeah.
His time.
Yeah. And there it is. And so, you know, I mean, he talks me into the call. I mean, and the thing about it is, like, I know it wasn't mathematically the right call, but I also knew, like they said, the match is even. Like,
Yeah.
Phil to this day is like, no, I would have had you up. No, you wouldn't have, Phil. I counted it like 6 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, again, like, I wish the TV cameras followed us to, like, the back room where we're getting our money, right? And he's fucking going crazy. He's like, you made the worst call ever. You made the worst call ever. You're such a luck bug. You know? And like I'm, you know, it's like, you know, I owed people some money at the time, so I had to pay it out, whatever. And we're in the back room, we're getting the money, and he is non-fucking stop with the how lucky I am and how bad I play and how I made the worst call ever. And like, the truth of the matter is I've asked probably 10 to 15 top poker players about the call, and every one of them said they would have done it because they had a chance to end the match.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's times that the math might be against you, but if you feel like if it would have gave him like a 2-1 lead, there's 0 chance I call, right? But the fact that I could call, still be even in the match, feel like I'm the better player, which, like I said, I give Phil props. We played 8 times, 7 times. He was probably the better player. But on this day, I was a better player. And so I just felt like you got 2 chances to win it. And listen, every top player said they would have called. And Phil, he brings us up once, 2 times, 3 times a year. He'll bring it up.
Never let it go.
Well, I'll bet you that everybody's going to tell us it's a bad call. I go, okay, Bill. Who do you want to bet? You know what I'm saying? Forget what the math says. The fact that if you could call, win it, and if you lose, you're back to even. It's like, so what if the math is a little bit off?
I mean, you're allowed to gamble. You know, that's kind of part of the game.
I mean, exactly.
But like, I think that story kind of it kind of portrays a little bit of like what I was getting at when I said, you know, Scott is a little bit more of the mad genius type. He's not the precise surgeon that everybody else we discussed. But when you start to get into the realm of like you, Chino, Grinder, the guys from that era that kind of cut their teeth riding the dragon, so to speak, right? Like, you guys aren't necessarily compelling strictly because of your resumes, and all of them are decorated, right? Like, sure, we could have debates of whether or not they're Hall of Fame worthy or not, but like, they're at least in the conversation, bare minimum. Yeah. What makes you such compelling characters is the rise and fall throughout the entirety of it. Like, all 3 of you in some sort of capacity were putting up new high scores while being stone broken in debt.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like that era.
That's true.
That aspect of that era doesn't exist the same way now, because the guys who are stone broken in debt and trying to do what you guys did don't have that level of talent or that level of access to stay in action long enough to actually rip off a big score. And also, it's just not as achievable now.
No, I agree. And look, you know, the one thing between, like, listen, Chino and Grinder are good friends of mine. Matter of fact, I bet you I text with Chino at least once a week. How you doing? Because, like, Chino's story to me I mean, is a real story of redemption and achievement, because people used to rip on Chino, like, Chino owes me, Chino this, Chino that. But when Chino made a score, they'd all line up and Chino would hand everybody money. He wasn't a scumbag. You know what I'm saying? He tried to pay as many people as he could.
Yeah.
And whoever.
I remember during the Epic Poker League, the finals were held here at the Palms, and Mercier was at the final table, so we were all there sweating him. And he busted, and Chino was still in, who I think went on to either win it or get second.
I think he won it.
I think he won it for like $1 million.
Yeah.
And I just
There's a
remember,
line out the door.
I remember Jay like stuck around after he busted, and we're like, what are we doing? He's like, I gotta wait for Chino. And it was just like a mad rush to the cage.
Yeah. But the one thing about, like, again, is like Chino and the grinder, like if you got him in a cash game, like people line up to play with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where, like, I mean, again, I don't get into cash games a lot of the private game because, like, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not saying, Mike sucks. Like let him in the game. You know what I'm saying? It's like I know where I'm at. I'm good. I play the way the game's supposed to be played. And the truth of the matter is, without learning, I've never. Daniel's tried to help me, and and I might work with him a little bit because I know I'm this close in No Limit Hold'em, right? And I think it isn't. We talk about the GTO solver, and we talk about the people who have the mad instincts, right? So Daniel put up the guy
Becker
this year, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the people who are, like, to me, like, who's a once in a generation talent, right? Sean Deeb's a once in a generation talent, right? When it comes to tournament poker, and, like, when it comes to cash, like, I don't know, like, I don't really play much cash with him, but
I've played a fair amount with him.
I'm sure he's pretty juicy, right?
He's juicy.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. But as far as tournaments goes, like the guy is a fucking genius.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why when we had the head up match, like on the undercard of like Daniel's head up match with Phil, right?
Yeah.
And it was for 10,000, right? I mean, people don't realize I spent 2 weeks preparing for that match because, everybody in the poker world is like, Sean D is the best tournament player in the world, right? So it's like, okay, what do I have to do to beat him, right? I'm saying. And so I spent 2 weeks. I came up with a plan on how to beat him, and I executed it perfectly. And of course, after I beat him, let's have a rematch. And I want a rematch. Let's do a rematch, okay? He's like, I'll know now that when you bet the river, you're going to have it. Yeah, really? Okay. Good to know. Now when I fucking bomb the river, like will I have it?
Well, so
Yeah.
I think that what you're describing is what I'm so nostalgic for from that era is that the majority of the people who were incredibly good at the game just had really sharp card sense.
Correct.
And that card sense has largely been, I don't want to say replaced because that's not fair. I still think that the best...
No, you know how you could know it's not replaced? Look at Jarrett Blesnick, what he did to fucking Patrick Antonius, right?
Yeah.
And he's not a no limit hold'em player.
No, but Patrick is also a card sense guy.
Yeah.
He's not like really precise when it comes to the technicalities of the game.
Correct.
But I don't want to say it's replaced because I still think the best of the best. And actually, I'll take this a step further. I do get to play in a lot of private games. And I'll tell you right now, the people that navigate those waters and do incredibly well for themselves, you can be the most studied player in the game and still be the most requested player to have a seat if you're sharp. And the way that you're sharp is through having card sense, right? Like it's knowing how to navigate the meta of what's taking place in spite of what the theory would dictate you do in this particular instance, right? It's about being able to understand how to have nonverbal communication with the people at the table, how to shear the sheep but not skin it. All of these things, and that all does boil down to card sense. There have been a couple younger kids who have been getting access because it's a really busy time and we're running more games now and stuff like that. And I see them come in, and it's their lack of card sense that is so shocking to me.
It is. And no matter how much you study GTO or solvers, if you don't have card sense, you're fucking drawn dead, man. It's
it's not that they can't win because it was very clear to me that they were technically sound.
Right.
But their lack of card sense was so dull that they couldn't pick out the old man coffee of the group. They're just like paying a guy off who's never bluffed in the last decade and a half
I see it all the time
with like clear catchers, and like, you know, they feel like they get so unlucky, and they're just like, man, I run so bad in Bobby's room. It's like, well, you're just like so dull.
I mean, I'll play with a guy like when he puts it in, like he never bluffs. It's like, okay, so what are you hoping? He just jammed 7,000 with nines and you're flipping. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and he gets paid, and he's a nice guy, older gentleman, right? And like, and there's a lot of other people like they never big bet bluff, right? You know, like they think that I don't big bet bluff, which is beautiful because it allows me to big bet bluff. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't really show them, but like. What's the two? You know, there's two ways to play in poker, right? You could be the action guy that's playing lots of pots, but small pots, and when you put it in, you have it, right? Or you could be the guy that plays pretty tight, and all of a sudden you fucking rip it on a fucking turn card. And I got people throwing two pairs away, and I have like no pair, a gutter ball, and a flush draw, and they're showing me two pairs, you know. And so like, there's two ways to play, right? I've always elected to make them think I'm super tight, and then like even in tournaments, like you show super tight for 2 hours, right? You play like one or two hands, and then you show them like ace king, or you show them aces, right? Now the blinds and antes go up, and all of a sudden you're 3-betting every fucking hand. Oh my God, Mike, you're running so good. You know, of course they're going to think that because they saw how tight you played. You know, like even when I bluffed off the main event like a couple of years ago, and it's like everybody was giving me all these accolades, like, wow, Mike, he's like, that was the greatest bluff ever. Like I wouldn't have, no way I would have called. And the guy who finished 15th in the main, like I saw him cashing out. He was the guy that laid down the ace queen to the guy's king queen. I forgot the guy's name, but you remember, with like 50 people left. They were talking, and he says, Mike, he goes, I can't believe that guy took 8 minutes and called you. He goes, there's not one person at the table that didn't think you had it. Yeah. You know? And, you know, I looked at the stack. I knew he made a small flush on the end. I played the hand exactly like I did when I flopped the full house and when I flopped quads. I bet super small flop, check turn, you know, bet river. You know what I'm saying? And I did that. He raised me on the river. I'm like, motherfucker. I was gonna fold. Then I'm like, motherfucker, with your fucking 7-high flush. I'm like, I look down. It's like 192 to call plus 200 more now. Even though he had like 1.3 million at the time, right? It still would have really crippled him.
I think it's funny. I think if you had
100,000 more,
100,000 more, it probably works. But I'm not sure if you have 100,000 more if you pull that trigger.
Yeah.
Right, because now the risk becomes greater to you.
Correct.
But I will give you props. Like, these are the areas where guys who aren't as well studied do actually recoup a little bit of their win rate. Like having the proper sense to fall into a good bluff in that instance, it's just something that most people, they give up on the thought process prior to getting there, right? They get raised and they recognize like, oh, this guy doesn't bluff raise me here very often, if ever, so I just fold. And they look to start folding better and better hands rather than looking to polarize more and re-raise good hands and re-raise bad hands.
The fact that he was a sponsored pro in Poland, you know, like I know that he's watched me play 2 hands, right?
Yeah.
And like he came up with excuses of why he called. First it was, oh, I saw you bluff this guy. Okay, which again, that leads back to something that I'm very much against is the 1 hour when you're at the TV table, like the 1 hour delay. It should. Who cares if it? Let it be a 3 hour delay.
Yeah.
Why should you people that you're playing? Why should you have a disadvantage when if you're not at the TV table, nobody knows how you play?
Yeah,
you know,
that's fair.
You know, and so you know, I had told Maury about it, and they did increase it to 90 minutes last year afterwards. But I still think it should be longer because like who's watching it? Like the people on Poker Go. So what if they watch it on 3 hour delay, right? And so. In real time, who cares what happens in real time? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's something that I've kind of been against. But like he said, well, I saw you 3-barrel the 10-8. Okay. I raised with a 10-8 of hearts. It came ace high. I barreled the flop, the turn, and I moved all in on the river. I thought the guy had a weak ace, and he did, and he folded. Yeah. And so he used that as an excuse to why it called. But like Like,
Oh, at the end of the day, it's just price.
whatever.
He just has a good hand, and it's just price. Like, I make a lot of calls that I think I'm losing about 100% of the time on.
Well, it's your biggest weakness.
No, that's what you think. I think it's my biggest strength.
You think it's your biggest strength?
I mean, it's just like, look, at some point as a poker player, you have to accept the fact that the name of this game is that there's a winner and a loser of every single hand, and you don't get to position it such that you have such asymmetry towards the winner side. People who try to do that lose more money.
I'm going to ask you a question. It's the same question I asked Daniel.
Okay.
Okay. Especially somebody that plays poker very mathematically studied, very, okay. You're in a poker tournament, right? And
You already lost me.
I'm just saying, you're in a poker tournament and the guy's all in on the river.
Okay.
Okay. You're getting 6-1 on your money.
Yep.
And it's 3-1 to call.
Okay.
You call, and it's for your tournament life.
Yeah. It's
You
snap
call,
call.
you snap call.
Snap call.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, well,
But
I mean, there are some mitigating factors. If it's like an ICM decision, then obviously I would weigh that in. Like if we're on the bubble final table or something like that.
Now, the best poker players in cash, it's a snap call because everything's mathematics. Okay. In tournaments, right? You know when you call with one pull of the deck, or you flush draw, gutter ball, in your beat, you're 3-1 dog. You know it. You're every one of your instincts is telling you you're 3-1 dog if I call here.
Yeah.
But the pot's laying you 6-1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The only if unless you're playing huge amounts of fucking tournaments, huge like lot big quality, and it's for your tournament life. The best players in the world that you know.
I think you're generalizing too much. Because
you understand what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that your tournament life has value, but the issue is that
if you're able to steal blinds and antes and chop up, why do you need that 6-1 on your money when
buddy, I'm here to tell you that you're not. You're not stealing blinds and antes anymore. No one is.
No shit.
Like that's not the way poker tournaments
Dude,
are working.
I play fucking seniors. You can't even fucking steal blinds and antes from seniors anymore.
Keith Lear just won the 10K seniors.
He won it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like it's over for you guys.
I'm going to tell you right now. Because I play with him. Right? I didn't know. I was going to look up to see if he won it or who won it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude. He's all in. Okay. He's playing like shit, by the way.
He's
Table.
action.
Okay. He's all in. He finds kings against aces. He's covered. Right? Fucking right in the window, king.
Sure.
Right? Doubles up.
Sure.
Right?
Who are we talking about right now?
Keith Lear.
Keith's a great guy, by the way. I mean, I love the guy. He's a good. He's one of the good guys when it comes to good-hearted.
I'm just saying that high-stakes professionals are winning seniors events. That's my bigger take.
He only won the seniors events because he 3-bets the lady who had raised the button, and 2 other times he 3-bet her and she folds, right? And now she 3-bets the button again, or she raises the button again and he 3-bets her. And she calls, and the flop comes deuce 3-6 with 2 spades, and he just jams on her, and like she snap calls. She should have fucking 4-bet jammed pre-flop,
sure,
but because she didn't, whatever. And it's deuce 3-6, 2 spades, and she has queen 10 of spades.
Okay.
Keith Lear has the 8-5 of clubs.
Okay.
And it's like, he's just fucking dead to an offsuit 4 or 5 or an 8. He got 7 outs. Somehow he got 7 outs.
Yeah.
You know, and it just binks an offsuit 5 on the river.
Well, that happens a third of the time.
But
you know?
I'm just saying, like, he don't win those 2 pots. He's done.
But that's the whole point. That's you're
that's
making
true of any poker
yeah,
tournament,
and you're making
right.
my case for me. This is why you don't fold when you're getting 6-1 and you're only 3-1 dog, because there's a ton of fucking variance and you just can't pass on those sort of edges. Like whatever skill edge you've managed to like manifest in your brain, I promise you it doesn't exist compared to the simple math of things. So the idea of like, I need to stay in this tournament more than I need to get laid double the price. Like imagine you could buy Bitcoin at 50K right now. Would you?
Yeah.
Would you would you liquidate a lot of your net worth? Yeah. Okay, well that's calling off in that pot. Yeah. You know, you're getting double the price that you're supposed to be getting. So it's like, I agree with you that.
By the way, Daniel said I call.
Of course, because you have to. You can't be a professional and say fold.
Right.
But the larger conversation I'm trying to get back to is there was a time frame that you're speaking to where this did exist, where card sense got you everything, and being the most intelligent guy in the room was good enough to make you the best poker player in the room in most instances. So, like, you know, we go back to that pre-Black Friday era where you really were on the rise and you made a career for yourself, and you have a lot to be proud of over that whole duration, but specifically that time frame of like 2003 to 2013 when you were on a meteoric rise. I mean, your blow-ups were epic. Like, you were as much of poker TV as you know, the four horsemen, if you will, in Ivy, Hellmuth, Negreanu, and I guess Antonio maybe sneaks his way in there. But like, you were as much a part of that as anybody else. And I wonder how much regret or nostalgia you have for that era, like attaching yourself early to Full Tilt. I mean, the money just had to be flowing hand over fist.
I mean, like, you know, I talk about this a lot. Okay, it's like I was in 2004 when Full Tilt was right before they launched. You know, I was best friends with Howard, David Gray, Jawanda. I mean, these guys were really. I mean, they were close friends with me. Like, I talked to Howard, I don't know, 2-3 times a week on the phone. You know, we were good friends, right? And I got Rich Corbin, who passed away a couple of years ago, God rest his soul. He worked for Poker Stars, and you know, he was kind of in charge of hiring talent, and they made me a big offer, right? And I'll look back at it, of course, and I'll say, well, if I went with Poker Stars, my life would be different, right? But like, you know, Howard's like, you're not going anywhere. You're staying with us. There's no way you're leaving, you know? And so, because of my loyalty, and, you know, I'm a very loyal person, you know, I believe like in friends or people, you got to be loyal. You
also weren't getting shorted there. You know, it wasn't like as if they were offering you 1/10 the money.
Well, you know, as it turns out, you know, the fact that the contract that I signed and the money that I got, and as it turns out, like, you know, I've brought this up many times, but 2 weeks before Black Friday, you know, Poker Full Tilt had already 5x their business or 10x their business. And like, I was part of something called the player pool, and I got 5% of the player pool. Player pool was, you know, was a certain amount of money that was based on how much the company was making. So like, I should have been making like 5x what I was making. And I went with my agent, lawyer, or Howard's house, and said, I want to get fucking paid.
Yeah,
fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I told you I was quitting if you hired Patrick and Tom Dwan and paid them more than me. You know what I'm saying? And you know, once I found that out, that they were getting paid like double of me, and I wasn't getting paid what I was supposed to, I was furious. I was very furious. And I like to bring this up because I want people to understand what was told to me. So at the time afterwards, I go, Mike, here's the situation. He goes, we're really struggling with payment process, and we might lose the U.S. market. And we have $560 million put away. And if we lose the U.S. market, we're going to need this money to keep the European market to make sure that you never have to work the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now, these are my close friends. And when they tell me this, okay, why would I not believe them?
Of course,
okay?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they were struggling with the payment processors. And yeah, the only difference was they didn't have $560 million put away.
Oh, they did, but Ray might have had it buried in his backyard somewhere.
Exactly. Like, we can go back to that. Like here's this fat fucking ugly piece of shit, and he just married a supermodel like at a $3 million wedding like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Right. But said that he was broke and he had he's going to die of a heart attack, so he can't go to jail because he's got a bad heart. You heard all about that bullshit, right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, a lot of people want to blame Howard, and you know, listen, Howard could say like I was retired, you know, but the bottom line was this: when there was a decision to be made on the company, Howard, Ray, and Chris were on the phone.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
That was it. There was never a big decision that Ray made. So you say retired all you want. And I love Howard. I saw him for the first time in like 5 years over at the charity tournament for St. Jude's and his wife, and he gave me a kiss, and I love them, you know. But to say like you didn't know or whatever, like there was never this, like Chris's biggest fault in the poker world was letting people run his company. That he owned the biggest percent, 20%. All Chris wanted to do is play poker, and you guys do everything.
Yeah.
But like maybe there was like 3 major decisions to be made with Full Tilt or whatever, and Chris was on the phone with it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't blame.
I mean, the other thing is like, look, when we go back, especially now that I'm in my 40s and I've attempted to run a business myself, like going back, you guys were in your 30s.
Yeah.
Professional gamblers.
Well, when it got big, we should have had a t-shirt. Listen, we were told to like hire a CEO, pay him $5 million a year.
Just not Ray Bitar.
well, the whole thing with Ray Bitar is his ego, right? It's like, I want to be bigger than poker stars at any cost, right? And
he's very Nagy-esque.
Yes.
Like, you know, the characteristics that they share in common seem to be very much overlapping. And I think the difference is that Full Tilt was relying on Ray to actually make business decisions and run the company to the fullest. ACR, I think, is like largely propping Nagy up as just the face.
Which he's not, which I just recently learned.
That's what I mean. Like the company is being actually led and run by people much higher up than him. And, you know, he's just doing his damnedest to get himself a liable lawsuit. But
I mean, I could, like, I've always got along with Phil. We played in a private game together, but like, you know, after the Scott Ball thing came public, was that 6 months ago, maybe?
August, yeah.
Okay, like, he called me, and then
that was years in the making.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He called me and said, "Oh, you know, you were right about him." Because what happened was I had told Nagy that, you know,
well, you told the world. I think people forget, but like you came public with the whole private game that he was running.
But I also told Nagy that Scott, who's working for you, that you think is such a good guy, played you fucking three-handed or four-handed with 3 pros, and they were fucking
card sharing.
I
told you I was invited to his Vidar suite, and I watched him with 2 people that he was backing sit at a 6-handed table.
Yeah. And I told Nagy this, right? And of course, Scott denied it completely to him. And then, so like in August, like, so Nagy calls me, right? We hadn't talked about 4 months, whatever. You were right about him. Everything about him's the truth, blah, 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 blah. And then he offers me to work for ACR, and he offered me a decent amount, you know, not like huge amount, but enough that I accepted. Because I wanted to be in position to where, you know, my bills are paid.
Yeah, everybody wants passive income.
You know, like,
of course.
You know, it wasn't that much money, but it was enough to where I would really, I'm really good for a company. You know, I'm a good-hearted people in the poker world love me. You know, and the next thing you know, he pulls it off the table and just ghosts me.
Well, it sounds like he did the same thing with Scott.
You know,
so this might be routine behavior.
And so, like, you know, it really bothered me because me and Nagy, I mean, we got along. I mean, I would say we weren't best friends or anything, but I say our relationship on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 9.5. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just like, you know, it's just, to me, it's like, it's real easy to just call somebody and say, hey, you know, I offered you this and I thought you'd be good, but my higher ups, they're a little bit worried about hiring you.
Can't get it past the board, whatever.
Right. You know, because originally when he said it, you know, he said, well, people in the higher ups are a little bit worried that I'm a risk. I'm like, what kind of risk am I? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Have you seen your Twitter?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
I mean, not that it's more of a risk than Nagy's Twitter, but you know.
Yeah, but we could also go to my Twitter and like I could literally say, and I mean it with 100% of my heart that like people in the poker world that thought I was like nuts in the Twitterverse and thought that I was like my conspiracy theories were crazy. You know, they all end up coming true, and then like all these people are like, "Wow, Mike, you were right." I mean, can't believe it. You were right.
You can be crazy and right some of the time. There could be a Venn diagram where both of these things exist.
And so and you know, like, and I'll say this with a straight face, and I mean it. Like, you know, what is my greatest accomplishments in life? Like, one of my greatest accomplishments in life is like taking 3 or 4 top name pros that thought I was completely insane, that were on the other side of the political island, that are now on the same side of my island politically, and they're like, you know, I'm sorry, I thought you were crazy. I can't believe everything you said was true. And so like it makes me feel good. Like, hey, you know, I remember when Daniel
How
said,
was Negreanu? I was going to say.
I remember when Daniel said to me, "Your fucking Twitter is toxic and you're out of your fucking mind." And
yeah, but
the
so
things
is
you
his.
say, the things you say, the things you say are just completely. And he would say, and Daniel would tell people like Mike's gone down a right-wing rabbit hole, and Mike's like mentally, he's gone. There's no hope for him, right? And now all of a sudden it's like, wow, everything Mike, and I've said it many times. I'm like, Daniel, like, dude, I'm the same guy you've known for 20 years. Like, I'm not crazy. I'm not down some crazy rabbit hole, you know. And you know, as it comes out, like a lot of things that I was saying, you know, he realized that they were true, and so did a lot of other people.
Yeah, I mean, some may have proven to be more true than others, but the bringing this full circle back to the Full Tilt days, you know, my initial question was kind of like, do you look back on that time frame and feel like it was an opportunity lost? I ask this because...
That's a good question, because you know what? Here will be my answer, okay?
Yeah.
And you'll like my answer. So I'm 56 years old. I didn't realize till I was 49, like, take money and invest it. I mean, like to
you
me,
can never make that money again.
Right. To me, when people said to me, "What do you do with all the money you make playing poker? You're so good." I go, "What do I do? I play higher. What do you think I do?"
Right.
You know, that was the way it was.
Right.
Like
You invest in yourself.
Like I invested in myself because every time I had invested something, I lost. It was just like, oh, I invested $50K here and lost.
Till you got into crypto.
You know?
Well, of course, I mean, everybody gets bad advice when they're coming up and money is free. You know, you can't be an uneducated investor.
Well, I tell people this story all the time, right? Like when I first was coming up and I started with like I staked Scotty, wins the World Series. I got $333,000, right? And, you know, the documentary talks about how I ended up staking him, you know, like,
I don't think that was public knowledge.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that you were the one that had a big piece of him when he won.
The thing was, is the guy that from Samstown that said quit your job in 1996 and I'll stake you. He played poker at Samstown every day, right? And like I remember because we were playing like 20-40 limit. Everything was limit hold'em back. If I wasn't the best limit hold'em player in the world, I was top 3, right? And so like, you know, I was crushing, and he's like, "Oh, you're better than the stock market. You know, you're amazing, right?"
Right.
Like he had like Yahoo stock. He had all the big stocks, right? And he was an older gentleman. His name was Neil. And then we went down to Crystal Park in L.A. and we moved up to 40-80 and 81-60 limit hold'em, right? And the first 3 weeks, I'm really struggling, right? Because the adaptation is they're way more aggressive, and you had to like. The 3-bet, when you 3-bet people, and it worked in 2040,
didn't work. And
it was, you had to 4 and sometimes 5-bet people in the higher up. So like, you know, the first 2-3 weeks I'm losing. I'm like, man, Neil, I'm like, if I don't change this around, I'm going to drop down. Like, you know, these guys might just be better than me. And he said to me, no, they're not better than you. Just fucking work at it. And next thing you know, I figured it out, right? And I started crushing it. You know? And I knew I was a good player because like I would go and play it at the Horseshoe, 10, 20, 20, 40 limit hold'em, right? And we were playing with Johnny Moss at the end of his career, right? And Jack Binion was giving him like $5,000 a day to like punt off in the 20, 40 limit hold'em games. And like, you know, if you didn't get there in time, you didn't get a seat, right? So like, you got a seat in the game, like Johnny Moss, the end of his career, like he was not very good, right? So, but then, you know, I'd make like $1,000 a day playing limit hold'em, and I'd go back to my job, pitch cards for quarters, you know, for 100,
like, what am I doing here?
$120 a day, right?
Yeah.
And so like there'd be days like they used to be something called designated player, right? And so where you get to play instead of deal in the box, right? And so like I got there, I'd been up all night, and whoever was in front of me on the designated player, I'd give them all $50 each to let me go to the designated player, right? And because I'm fucking tired. I had to show up at work. I played all night, you know. And then I'm like, I'll never forget the one time, right? I'm like, now, you know, like, can't be a designated player if we get like 6 games going. Like normally we'd have like 4 games going. But now all of a sudden this day, all of a sudden we have 4 games going. More people walk in, we have 5 games going. I'm like, please, God, please don't let them more people come in. And then all of a sudden more people come in, we have to start a 6th game and I have to deal. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to deal, right? And like, I'm dealing. This is a true story, honestly. And I literally fall asleep in the box. Like, they tap me on the shoulder. I'm like, right? And so they end up sending me home, right? And I'm like, I apologize, right? Even the guy who was my boss, you know, he knew that I played big. And I'm like, here. He wouldn't take the money, but I'm like, here's 100. I'm so sorry. He would never fire me because everybody loved me, you know? Like I would deal poker and have a conversation with this guy. And at the end of the hand, like I'd push the cards up before they even turn the cards over because I knew what they had. And in all honesty, you know, you always hear about poker players or poker dealers are just horrible poker players, right? But like me, like I was a player, then a dealer, and like dealing like really honed my skills because I focused on what people had all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so you know the next thing you know, going back to the 40-80 and 81-60 is like I show up at the 40-80 game and Huck Seed walks in. He just won the World Series of Poker, 96 World Series of Poker. And we're playing, right? Hey, Huck, I'm minus Mike, whatever. Huck, you know, and sitting next to each other for like 8 hours. After about the 3rd hour, he says to me, man, you're fucking great, man. Like, great. I'm like, that was my first ego bump, by the way. Yeah. Like, wait a minute. The guy who just won the world championship is telling me how great I play, right? And so, like, now you know that you're not just better than the 4A players at the time. You know what I'm saying? You know, like the guy who just won the world championship, he's not just fucking saying that. And I start winning. And so, you know, now we come into the 97 World Series. And this is like the first World Series that I've played at. And, you know, everybody knew how great I was at limit hold'em. And I meet Mark Gregorich. And to me, he's still one of the top 3 or 4 Omaha 8 stud 8 players in the world. And he's like giving me pointers on how to play Omaha 8 or better. And he's like, Mike, listen, just play ace deuce, 1, 2, 3, use your aggression like you always do, and you'll be fine, right? And I'm like, so I go and play the satellite of this Omaha 8 after he gives me fucking like 3 or 4 pointers, right? And I win the satellite, right? I listen to what he says. I took in information really good. Like, you know, before I did drugs, I mean, I was like, I had my brain was so sharp. Somebody could walk in that I saw that I played with like 2 weeks earlier, and I knew exactly how he plays before he sat down. My memory was so good. And, you know, and I don't want to knock myself because yeah, I actually studied, like, would this drug hurt me if I did it? Because I'd never done a drug in my life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they're all trying to talk me into doing ecstasy. Big thing, 2002. But, like, I said, no. And then stripper talked me into fucking it.
Sure.
And the rest is
as
history.
one does.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. But like,
well, like, but drawing upon that, like, that time period where you were making money hand over fist, you were part of one of the biggest online operators to ever exist in the United States.
I was making like between like not they weren't paying me that much, but between the games that I was getting into and
Breakback.
I mean, honestly, like, I was making like $200,000 a month, but I was betting $220,000 a month in sports.
So that's my thing, right? Like you're making money hand over fist. You might have been making 7 figures a year for the better part of a decade, but you were a sports bettor.
Yeah,
you had a gambling. Yeah, you were a gambling addict. You were into drugs. You were living the fast life. You were every Vegas cliche that you could imagine. Are you going to look back on that time frame and just say like
can't have regrets, because if you do, you can't move forward. So
Sure.
so it's like, do I wish I, like now, like I don't bet, the only thing I bet, like I might bet $1,000 on like the college football playoffs, like
The Super Bowl or something.
or
yeah.
the playoffs, just just for fun, right? And like even like the people who've known me for years are like, how do you bet $1,000 on the game and enjoy it? Like I can't do that. I got to bet like, I'm like, how? I'm like, lose 6.7 million betting sports and be fucking broke.
Yeah.
And you realize, I didn't realize how hard it really was to win at sports until after my surgery. I don't want to name names, but I'll just say like, because of my reputation of how awful a sports bettor I was, I would lay $1.05. Some people like, I didn't have to lay any juice, like $1.02.
Yeah.
So like, and I started running for some very, very sharp people. And then I would like run around, go run over here, get us down, 10,000 here, because the line was like 1 point better, right? That's the one thing I learned about sports betting is like, it's kind of like with poker. It's like the only thing that matters is the math, the line. It's you can't take a bad line ever.
Yeah.
If the line moves against you, you don't sit there and say, "Oh, I think they're going to win." No, once you lose the line move, you're done, right? So like, and I'm running for these people, and I'm like, I'm literally I'm camped out at Green Valley Ranch because Stations Casino, they lean all their lines to the favorite. So you're always going to get a half a point and sometimes a point better, right? So I'm in there betting my dog shits for $1,000, right? And then they would call me and they would give me half of whatever I got down, right? And so on the big college game, and then boom, I bet 10,000, 10,000, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? 5,000, 10,000, right? We're losing every bet. I'm like, what the fuck? Aren't these people supposed to how sharp, right? And as it turns out, like we go 1-9 on a college slate on Saturday. And I'm thinking they must think I'm just the fucking chum of chums. And I walk in there on Sunday and they're like, you're not allowed to bet with us. I'm like, what? I go, swim 1-9. I'm down 220,000 a year last month. And they're like, you're beating the Chris lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're smart people. Like, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what about the 20,000 that I bet on the Raiders and laid 16 or plus 15.5 and the line moved to 17. I'm like, that doesn't count. Yeah. Or when I bet on Kershaw and under of my own money, this is my own, like 10,000 on the baseball, and Kershaw gives up 6 in the 7th inning against the Cardinals in back-to-back years, and I lose like 50,000. What that doesn't count? Like what? Like I get a few sharp games. What about all what I'm losing, right? So like, I was shocked that they kicked me out. I thought they would let me win back my money, or at least half of it, before they kicked me out. So it's like, and I'm shocked that they were even looking. Like the fact that I'm losing every bet, you wouldn't think they were looking,
Yeah.
And so that was when I realized, wow, like, and as it turns out, that year was like their only losing year that they'd ever had, right? But that's, of course, I never won booking, I never won betting, I never won fucking following the show. That was when I realized the man upstairs, like, okay, somehow we've got to quit betting. Dude, you can't win a sport.
Well, I mean, that does kind of beg the question of like, what's next for you? Because it's clear that your earning potential is maybe half of what it was during the glory era, and that's not your fault. I mean, poker's just changed a lot.
Well,
so what do the next 20 years look like?
The next 2 years, this is my goal. And again, I learned this. This is learning. And this is all the poker players out there that think that they want to make it big and have tens of millions. You don't need tens of fucking millions of dollars, okay? You need to be debt free, have a couple fucking $1 million.
Are you debt free?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I owe peanuts. Like
it's good.
I owe Chinese poker money. That
You and Daniel have squared everything
squared,
away?
yeah.
Yep.
And that was in
the documentary where you handed him over 70,000. Was
Yeah.
like the last of it.
Yeah.
And, like, that was a touching moment. Actually.
And the thing about the doc, it shows like where Daniel was against me. Like you saw that,
Right? Yeah.
And we wanted to show like how like toxic he thought I was,
Right.
to where
You guys like screaming at each other from
to
across
where
the
I
tables.
was, where I
and-
paid him off the money
Right.
at the end of the documentary, and to where we are today as friends. And listen, I take full responsibility. Like I borrowed money. Nobody would help me after my surgery. Daniel helped me, and then things came up when we became against each other politically, to where he's like, I want my fucking money now and whatever. And then I was pressing to make sure I could pay him the money and still have money. And I fucked up. You know, I take full responsibility. I fucked up. There was a time where, like, Daniel said things to me, like the hatred he had, to where like I could have called the cops and they'd put him in jail. It was so bad, you know. But like I understood how upset he was, and I also understood what a good-hearted person he was, and that I don't blame him for being upset, you know. And I fucked up, you know. It's like, listen, when I drove home after I was up for 2 days straight and lost $200,000 and was dead broke and didn't have $1 for gas money in 2016, you know, that was my low point. Like everybody in life, okay, rock bottoms, whether it's drinking, drugs, poker, makes mistakes, right? Everybody has a bottom, and that up for 36 hours, losing 200,000, not having his money to pay him back, that was rock bottom, right? It's like, what am I going to do? I don't even have $1, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, 2011, you know, I was fucking making 200,000 a month. I'm set for life. I own a piece. I don't own a piece, but I was, you know, full tilt was set for life. You know, it's like now I have to play poker again for a living. You know, so it was, you know, things were tough. And one of the biggest mistakes I made is after the surgery is not dropping down, because I'd never played less than 400, 800 in my life. You know, and you know, you're dealing with pain. You know, your brain is not correct. You know, and so it was the hardest thing for me, and for 100% the hardest thing I ever did was dropping down and learning that I had to play small again to survive. You know what I'm saying? It's like, here I was, now I got to go back and play. Well, okay, I'm going to go back and play 400, 800, but like, God, you know, I got to deal with the swings. It's like, what if things don't go right? You know, but my brain, and most people are brains, I can ask you right now, it's like if you have to go play 10, 20 right now, could you do it? And you probably say no, right?
I mean, I could do it if I felt like that was my way out, but like I wouldn't.
But it would take a while. It would take a while for your brain to adjust.
I just wouldn't do it. Like I've made peace with the fact that I would rather do something else than make $150 an hour at 10:20.
Correct. But like, let's just say you don't have anything else. Like to me, at the time, right? Like, you know, it was before my podcast, before, you know, to me, and other different things, other avenues, to me, like poker was the only income I've ever had. You know, it's just like people could say, I can't play anymore. I'm like, well, all my investments have failed, okay? And my only income I've ever had is from playing poker. Like, how am I still have money, and how am I still alive? And like, you know, it's like people ask, well, why don't you play in the Poker Go studio? Like, I just don't like. To me, to me, poker is about playing against people who you're better than. I love to stress this. I'll stress this to all your listeners and people. It's not about playing the best players in the world. All that is a fucking ego. Okay, yeah. You know, if you've got $10 million to put away and you want to play the best players in the world in the Poker Go studio and see how you do, go ahead. You know, but if you're going into the Poker Go studio and telling yourself, I'm better than them and I'm going to make this, you're fucking
if you're trying to make money, you can't go play against better people that are better than you.
You know, and so like, you know, I realized that I'm still better than almost everybody, and there are people that I play with. I'm like, wow, that guy's good. I'm like, he's way better than me. You know what I'm saying? And if you're a good poker player, there is nobody you sit down with that if you sit there keep telling yourself I'm better than everybody, and you have to look at this guy that sits down and you say, wow, that guy's fucking good, right? And if you're not aware of that and you don't say to yourself, let me see what he's doing because I think he's better than me, then you're never going to become great in poker. You know, because there's always somebody better than you.
But like what I'm hearing then, I don't disagree with you, obviously. Yeah. I think you're correct. What I'm hearing though is it sounds like you're still chasing that elusive greatest to ever do it title.
No, I'm not.
Like, is there a pivot off of poker at some point?
That's the question that you could ask. So now, and I'll give you that answer. Okay. So, my best friend Ben, who you know really well, is like, he's my assistant. Like Danny's my assistant. He's my assistant. Like he does crypto projects. You know, he's made me money, you know, in the crypto world. And my goal, hopefully, is that he doesn't fucking break me. And because you know, it's really easy. You never know.
He's a nit. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it on the nose. He's a fucking nit, right?
He's a huge
and
nit.
so I know that he's never going to put my money. You know, like recently.
It's not all into small cap meme
like
coins.
literally New Year's Eve, he texts me at 3 a.m, Mike, we got a project. We're going to put X, Y, and Z amount of money into. I'm like, and he has all my keys to everything. Like he has my, what's that thing that you put in the computer? The
wallet?
The wallet. He has everything. You know, I trust him with my life. Yeah. And he's like, I think we should put this much money in, right? And it's a big amount of money. And I'm just like, okay, I'm in. You know what I'm saying? So like, hopefully, you know, and listen, Brian Rass was really smart with me. Like when Bitcoin was 30, I said, Brian, what should I do? You know, I've got this much money in here, you know, and I got to the point I'm too scared to go broke. And he's like, put it all in Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah, he's very bullish.
Yeah,
right.
But he's been right. Like everything he's told me is right. Like on the you know, he went, you know, he's another guy that never voted for Republican in his life. Was always hated Trump, voted Democrat, and like, you know, once he realized, you know, like, you know, everybody's been lied to, and he was so pro Bitcoin, right? And so we were on the Market Mania show with Brian Micon. I mean, Brian Micon was a $3 player, never had a quarter of his name, but he was running the small game on Bitcoin.
Yeah, he got into Bitcoin.
He's a Bitcoin billionaire. Yeah, he's a Bitcoin. He's the richest guy in poker.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. And he was, you know, and I was in Bitcoin early. I had $10,000 in Bitcoin at $27 a coin.
Oh my God.
We were opening, me and the Mizrachis, Eric Mizrachi, he designed a poker site with all the mixed games. We did the beta testing on it. We all bought 10,000 in Bitcoin, and because we were going to open it, and it was going to be run on Bitcoin, kind of like what ACR is, right?
Well, what Sills with Clubs originally was.
Right. And so as we got ready to launch, I could go back. I could show you like tweets that were sent to me. Like I had death threats direct, you know, in my DMs, like hundreds of them. You were opening this fucking another Ponzi scheme, just like, because they thought I owned Full Tilt. I didn't own Full Tilt, right? Yeah. Another Ponzi scheme like Full Tilt. Bitcoin's a fucking Ponzi, blah, 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 right? And so now I'm like really like scared, you know, I don't, you know, all these death threats, whatever, but we're still going to open. But, you know, the DJ Grinder and Robert, they took all the money and gambled it all away. And we never opened it. And all they had to do is just, I mean, the beta testing was done. We were ready to launch. I mean, then I already have hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Yeah. So I mean, everybody's got a Bitcoin story, but it's like, you know, everything. I can name 20 different things that I'd have $100 million right now, you know. But you could also look at it as, if I had all that money, you know, would I be alive today? Like, would I know what I know today? Would I have money management? Would I care about a dollar? Like you're talking about somebody that bet 10,000 on every side total, halftime, and you know, now it's like a dollar means something to me. Like if I lose $1,000, like on a game, like if I take a bad beat, which like I took a couple of them recently where I had like the Dallas $1,000 I had on the Cowboys when they blocked the punt and they're going to just win the game.
Oh my God,
And
that
then
was
somehow
insane.
the idiot touches the ball on 4th and 26.
Of course,
and it's a minute and 30 left. There. Like even then, they're still going to play for a field goal, right?
Yeah.
And two plays, a touchdown, and somehow I lose plus 6.5, right?
Somehow the
and
Bengals
like I
find a
couldn't
way.
get this game out of my mind that I bet $1,000 on. Like it bothered me, right? Which is good. Like if you think about it, if you're somebody that bets really big, right? So here's the thing: you have to still be able to play high stakes poker and be able to pull the trigger for tens of thousands of dollars. But it's a really tough pivot to where also when you lose $1,000 on something like that it bothers you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would never have had that before. And I think that I really believe it's made me I'm 10 times the person that I was before. You know what I'm saying? Before, I didn't care about anything but the green felt. That was it. It was the green felt and then take the money with the green felt and bet it on sports, right? And now it's like I love poker and I want to play, but it's not the end all be all. And when you're coming up, right?
You have more balance now in life.
Right. When you're coming up, it is the end all be all. Because, I mean, I used to play 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. There was like I didn't stay home. Who stayed at home? You know what I'm saying? It's like you woke up, you jumped in the shower, you ran down to the Bellagio to make sure you got a seat, and you played as long as you could play, you know? And it wasn't like, there was never about like, oh, I hope I win today. I mean, it was like, how much was I going to win? You know, that back in the day. You know,
So what are you going to be investing your time in moving forward? I mean, the highlights of your career are behind you. Mm-hmm. The TV days are behind you. Mm-hmm. The drugs are behind you. Hopefully, the majority of this injury is behind you. You're healthy. You're financially doing okay. You have nothing but time on your hands, and you're getting older. So, what's the...
Okay, so there you go. So the end. Here's the thing. 56. I've never been married. I have no kids. Okay. I mean, I'm running out of time, right? It's like, would I like to meet somebody like 38, 39?
Is
like
Kathy
that.
Griffin still
Like
available?
that would like have a kid? Yeah, I'd love. I want a family.
You sure your shit swims?
Yeah. And so, but so
he's only 56, man.
There's a but to that too. But I put the swimming stuff into a lab.
Okay.
Okay.
You froze it.
Because you can't take testosterone injections because it'll kill off that.
Right.
You gotta do that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so my life right now is good. Like it honestly, like when I had $10 million or whatever, I wasn't near as happy as I am like today. Like when you have money, okay, people I don't know if you realize, but like people want to borrow. Like everybody, it's like, and and this is what I tell people: you don't out your laundry. Like old school people will never out their laundry of people it's owed, right? It's like when you loan somebody money in the poker world, you're loaning them money because you care about them, they're your friend, and the chances are you're probably not going to get it back, right? Like I probably still have over $1 million owed to me that's on the dead list, you know? But like I have had people, I've had like 30, somebody come up to me, pay me $38K that was on this super dead list. Another one that was $23K on. I mean, you have the list. Well, this much money's live, this much money's dead, right? And so you never know. You know what I'm saying? But like when I watch people on Twitter, like, oh, this guy's a scumbag. Like I loaned him all this money and he hasn't paid me. It's like outing. What is outing him gonna fucking do? You know? It's like good luck getting paid back now. You know what I'm saying? Now if he's going from person to person to person, borrow, not paying anybody back, then he's just a scumbag, then he should be outed. You know what I'm saying? But like, I just think that I really want to, the next 2 years, like I want to study the solver GTO thing. I'll never play the solver GTO because I'm all feel. My whole game's feel. But I think it's important to know what they're thinking. Like,
Yeah.
I know what they have, but what are they thinking? You see what I'm saying? And I credit Daniel. Daniel went all in on the GTO solver, but he wasn't winning, right? And he started winning when he took that information and went back to his small ball mentality and not just jam 15 big blinds with Jack Queen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then he had 3 wins last year, right? So, I think that,
Probably had a losing year.
yeah. I mean, everybody loses in terms of poker, unless if you're playing a lot. It's hard to win. How many people win?
No, I agree.
I
agree.
But
I don't think there's a lot of money to be made out there.
No, but if you do get lucky and make a score, invest it. Like if I was to go out tomorrow and make $1 million score, right? 930,000 of that million is going right into fucking Bitcoin. Okay. 'Cause I believe in my heart, I believe it. I know I'm right that Bitcoin will be 500,000 in 6 years and 1 million in 10.
I hope you're right.
And think about it.
I'm kind of there with
if you own 3 to 5 Bitcoins, right? Let's say you own 5 Bitcoins, right? And it's 500,000 in 5 years. You're set for life. It's 2.5 million, right? You're 61 years old.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Because there's worlds where it could rise to 500K a coin or $1 million a coin, but there's hyperinflation in the world economy, and
I think it'll go down. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see.
I agree with you, though, in
so
principle.
It's like, and again, Brian Rast told me this. He's like, Mike, think about it. Mike, 56. He goes, if Bitcoin's $1 million a coin in 10 years, right? He goes, you have 3 Bitcoin, 4 Bitcoin. He goes, Mike, you're 61. You'll be 65 with $5 million in the bank.
Yeah, little nest egg.
He's like, you just live a comfortable life. He goes, if you need to take a little bit out to play a few tournaments, go ahead and do it.
And if it gets to $1 million, it's most likely not going to stop at $1 million either, right?
Yeah.
If in 10 years from,
I mean, if you believe in it,
yeah,
I believe in it. You guys are big believers?
Yeah, I think
We're in
most
there,
people, yeah, most people I think a lot of people in the poker world have really embraced crypto and understand the value in it.
The thing is you watch all these people on these big poker streams who are like, and they're just like punting off like hundreds of thousands, and people are like, where do these people get the money to punt off? Well, some of them are crooks, but also fucking, the poker world's loaded because they were in the Bitcoin.
Yeah, we were early adopters.
A lot of people were early, yeah.
Right. So so that's kind of like where you stand. We're there. Like, would there be having like, if Bitcoin wasn't 100,000 a coin, would they be at the Atlantis Paradise? Would they be $500,000 buy-ins with multiple rebuys? And you're like, even Chance, like he bought in $100,000, like what, 3 or 4 bullets? Like, it's 400,000 in the real world. It's a lot of fucking money, man.
Yeah, it's 4 Bitcoin.
Exactly.
That's how you get your 4 Bitcoin, right? And wait for it to go to $1 million.
So I'm hoping to really now that my brain is really level. That I switched over to Vyvanse. The Adderall was always really up and down for me, and I would have really manic days and brutal. But like now that I'm pretty level, and I'm like, yeah, it's hard for me to leave the house. And I have pain. It's in my knee, goes down my foot, whatever. But like, my plans are is to actually come to a conclusion instead of like, oh, go out, we'll have fun. Oh, you'll be in pain afterwards. Like, all right, Mike, just get a scooter, attach it to your car. Wherever you go, it takes 2 seconds to take it down, and just let it be part of your life. Don't don't like.
It's better than the pain.
It's like how many times I'll go to a hockey game, I'm just like, I want to be part of the guys. Everything's fine. I walk, and then at the end of the day, like, I'm bedridden for 2 or 3 days.
Right,
and it sucks,
Yeah.
But it's like like people ask me, well, how are you able to play on these streams? How are you able to play the World Series? Well, again, eat good. It's been like 3 months of eating good. I have my own chair that's attached to the back of my scooter, right? And I'm not walking distances. Like, I'm walking to the shower, out of the shower, dressed, onto the scooter, to the table, to where I could literally take all my stuff and the scooter to the table, and if they want it moved, the floor man just grab the key and move it for me.
Yeah.
And so if you're again, if I'm not walking and I'm really able to play at a high level.
Can you swim? Are you able to swim?
I am. Now,
Like,
I was going to, it's a good thing you brought it up. So I was going to buy a swim spa, okay? And I know that it's the best thing for me.
right, because like I would assume if you're not able to walk, like you have to find a way to get exercise. You know.
Do you know
a
how
certain way.
expensive those things are?
I bet they are. Yeah.
So like, I thought they were like 10,000 and I was going to buy one. Like anything decent is 30,000 for a swim spa. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, why do I want to spend? It's like kind of like, you know, like getting hair implants. Like I could have got, I had this bald spot in my head. I could have, 15,000. I could have a full set of hair, right? Yeah, like Daniel said here, call this guy 15,000, right? You have a full set of hair. And like, or I could just shave it all off and see how I look, right?
Yeah, you look great, but we can get you over to Turkey. They'll do it for a third of the cost. They do a great fucking job.
So like I decided like during the pandemic, like, okay, like I usually color my beard. Like I've been at home just chilling, but like, you know, because I don't like looking old, man. You know, it's like I like young.
Hey man,
You're trying to
embrace the salt and pepper.
Yeah, you know,
trying to get wifed up here, man.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. It does sound like that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
like,
so you got to look good, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I go out and people are like, "You're 56." Like, I thought you were like 42, 43.
Yeah, that's
you know?
good.
It's like, you know, and so I think it's really good to look good, you know. But you know, I'm not going to sit there and get plastic surgery or whatever. But it's like, you know,
not getting Botox injections.
and look, I go like this. I take my glasses off. I go, "Do you see any wrinkles under my eyes?" I said, "When I start getting wrinkles under my eyes, then I'll worry about it." But it's like, but I know people in their 30s, like they have like all kinds of wrinkles under their eyes. But you know, that all comes from sun and drinking.
Smoking.
If you don't smoke, drink, or be in the sun, you're not gonna, you know, your skin's gonna look good. You know what I'm saying? And I never was a drinker, you know, and I never was a smoker, and I never went in the sun. You know, so yeah,
You're in the casino the whole time. That's why.
Yeah, you know, it's important to look good. You know, and I'm not the type of, I'm not a veiny person, but it's like, you know, I want to start, you know, getting new sets of new clothes. You know, I started buying some stuff from like Aviation Nation. It's pretty. They have really cool stuff. You know, they're expensive. Like a tracksuit from Aviation Nation with a top and a bottom is like $650. It's crazy. You know, but it's like, you know, it's I think it's good in life. Like you look good, you carry yourself good, like in the public, like it's good to, you are what you represent. In other words, if you represent Drek, you're going to be Drek. And I tell people this all the time. It's like, you know, I'm not the type of guy that wants to be with a girl that puts on a shitload of makeup, right? You know, but I do want to be with somebody that presents themselves. You know, they could be super hot, but don't dress like a slut, you know.
Sure.
You know, you it's so easy to look sexy and beautiful without looking like a slut, you know. And it's the same thing for like guys, you know. You carry yourself, you know, you don't want to look like a schlub. Like I used to, for years, I wore like the same shitty sweatpants and a t-shirt, and I'm just like, again, that's my growth, you know. It's like not only just about trying to meet somebody, but I really think it's important, you know. You are how you present yourself. If you present yourself that you look good, you're a nice person, you know,
you attract what you present.
You attract, right.
Yeah.
If you, and again, why did I have a bad World Series this year? Why I was struggling, coming off of the pain meds. I was struggling and I was getting manic and anxiety and depressed a little bit. And I was very negative, right? And people who all know me were like, "Mike, why are you so negative? Why are you so," and I knew what was causing it, you know, but I thought getting off that pain pill before the World Series was going to be a big plus to me. And as it turns out, because my body had needed it for 10 years, it became a big negative for me.
Sure. Yeah.
And now the adjustments all been made, and I know I'm going to have a really good Series next year. But it's like you learn these things. Everything in life is a learning experience. Like you do the same. What's the difference of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results, right? If you go out and you try and better yourself every day, like wake up in the morning, walk outside in the backyard, look up at the sky, sit on the grass for 10 minutes, right? It's like, why are people depressed? They're depressed because they look at they sit in their house and they look at the same four walls over and over, and they're on the computer, you know, they're playing online poker and they got like 10 screens going. Like you can't let that take over your life, you know. It's like you got to do positive things, and I've learned this from my mistakes. Like the way I'm talking right now, like 6 years ago, I would never be talking like this. But you know, you learn and live. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've kind of, I don't want to say completed the journey, but you've definitely made some headway with it. I think that for anybody who has the opportunity to watch the documentary, they'll get a lot more insight into all of these stories. Yeah. Personally, like for me, it's about that golden era. Like, I love to hear the stories. I know that you were a big part of the TV era as it was coming through, and I think that you are a huge staple to this community, and I hope that if nothing else, at some point in time, the floodgates kind of open to the hall and you get your rightful seat at the table.
Yeah.
But
you know, I hope so too. You know, it's like, again, I don't want to like toot myself on the horn because I'm not, but like when I go to the World Series, right? Like I literally sign 100 autographs a day, right? At the World WPT Championship, right? Last week, again, I did like 10 a day, and so many people, when they come up to you and they say, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in poker, right? And like, again, that means a lot to me, but there's also people that are on the Hall of Fame ballot that a lot of people will say should be in front of me. It's like, they could walk down a hall, they don't ever sign one autograph, nobody knows who they are. And that means something that I've been able to, in the poker world, that kind of contribution to the poker world, it means a lot to me. Like when people say this to me and they're like, I mean, I could just read off my DMs like of my documentary, and they're like, it really makes you feel good. Like I told you, I used to play for my father, you know, and now my mom's 87, and you know, if, I don't know how many years she has left, but if she passes away before I'm in, like the mic drop at the fucking acceptance speech is going to be legendary.
yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't think anybody can debate the impression that you've made on the community. I hope no matter what the future holds, that you'll continue to be a staple at the WSOP. For me personally, like as a fan and somebody who's a part of the community, that's what I think of when I think of Mike Matusow. I think of the TV moments, the blow-ups, and everything in between. So if nothing else, here's to good health moving forward, and many, many, many more years of WSOP, and hopefully many more bracelets in your future.
Thank you so much, Burke. It means a lot, and I appreciate you having me on.
Anytime.
And for everybody out there, you know, go to Amazon.com, punch in on the, when you go to Amazon Prime, Matusow, Matusow, and take a look at my documentary. It's really, really good, and it'll help all the younger kids coming up. I think there's a lot of teaching moments in it.
I think the stories of the early days of poker's growth are the ones most worth telling, quite honestly. So even if, you know, you're only interested in it from the getting to know Mikey better aspect, I think it's well worth the watch.
Yep, it is.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you guys, everybody at home, for tuning into this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, give Mikey a follow. He has his own podcast, The Mouthpiece. You can find him over on his YouTube page. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Jesse Silvio. We're going to be live at 11 a.m. as usual. We'll see you guys all then.
Peace.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.